Happy New Year, Nashville. It is a special 10:30, bringing you up until coverage of the ReliaQuest Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. Jake Lyman, Connor Newt, Nick Frazier, and Parker Kelly with you today. Thanks for joining us. We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Gentlemen, I thought I would not be back with you until 2025. There were rumors out there, but I am back just one day before the new year. Excited for a fun show today.
On the final day of the year.
Yes, New Year's Eve.
I couldn't say anything. I'm sorry.
It's one of the best times of the year for sports. Tonight, we've got game one of the college football playoff quarterfinals. Penn State, Boise State, the Fiesta Bowl. 3 more tomorrow. The Preds play tonight. We've got the final week of the NFL season coming up. It's an awesome time of the year, and we're going to get into all of it today. Going to spend a lot of time on the Titans, who miraculously have found their way into the number 2 pick heading into the final week of the season. They are 2 results away from having the number 1 pick for the first time since 2016. We're going to spend a lot of time on that throughout the show, talking about could the Titans be the landing spot for Shedeur Sanders in April, which seemed like a pipe dream a few weeks ago. Also going to get into the college football playoff. I know you guys on Saturday did a little bit of a preview of the quarterfinals, but I wasn't there, so we're going to do it again.
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you said. I want to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. But first, let's start with our headlines today. Nick Frazier, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. I mean, we might as well just start talking about darts off the
Yep,
rip. Nobody's listening right now.
That's true.
We're at the quarterfinals of the PDC World Championships. My boy, 17-year-old Luke the Nuke Littler, made it to the quarterfinals against, I think, Michael Van Gerwen and 2 other guys. I'll have to remember their names eventually, but it's a good little group of guys that are going up to play darts.
All household names that you just went through right
Household names.
The only 2 that I could remember off the top of my head. So that's about it. But yeah, that's my headline. Yeah, I think we do quarterfinals today and then semifinals and championship the second and third, I think.
Wow. I can't believe I was going through all of the great sporting events going on right now, and I forgot the World Championship.
Yeah. Don't worry, rugby's coming up.
I love how his headline was like, darts are happening today. That's it.
I mean, yeah, you got to. I mean, nobody's really down listening to their radio like religiously right now, so just get out of the way.
I hope people are.
Yeah.
4's Company headlines. It's the greatest segment in sports radio, except for celebrity birthdays and what year or what day is it? Of course,
can't really top that one.
Can't top that one. We're number 2. Connor Newt, go ahead.
Well, last night was the last episode of Monday Night Raw on the USA Network ever. Next week, Monday Night Raw is moving to Netflix, and it signals the start of an era, but also the end of an era, because it was announced yesterday that the retirement tour for John Cena begins Monday. The last year, the last time. We get 1 more year with him, and then we'll never see him again. Not like you could see him anyway, but you never see him again in a ring. That's my headline. It's not as good as darts are happening today.
How did I know that you were going to go darts and wrestling with your headlines this morning?
Yeah.
We do have at least one listener. Jeremy in Mount Juliet has texted into our text line saying he is listening. We have him.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you'd like to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Going through some headlines on this New Year's Eve morning. Parker Kelly, do you have a headline for us this morning?
I do. I can't say that it's going to be as good as darts and wrestling, but the Detroit Lions got their 14th win of the season last night over the San Francisco 49ers, 40-34. They will meet up with the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday night, the battle for the 1 seed in the NFC. 14 wins is also a franchise record for the Lions. So things are getting interesting in the NFC.
NFC,
how about that?
It's going to be fun out there. Not a ton of intrigue in terms of playoff spots out there. I think all of them might be locked up at this point.
All but one.
Seeding is interesting.
Right. The seeding is going to be big because one of those teams is going to get home field advantage first round bye. The other one becomes the 5 seed and has to go on the road for the first round of the playoffs.
Honestly, I think there's a little bit of intrigue too, as from the Titans standpoint. Quarterback wise, the Vikings are a 14-win team, could be 15, could be the number 1 seed with Sam Darnold, who will be an unrestricted free agent. So I tend to lean they're going to lock him up, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to say 99.99999% chance Sam Darnold does not touch the free agent market this year.
It's a lot of nines.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. You're going to go 15-2 or 14-3. You're not letting that quarterback walk for nothing. They're at the very minimum going to tag him.
Yeah,
That would be
I think that's what's
I think they're going to tag him, give him a prove it year of like, hey, do it again, and we'll hold on to JJ McCarthy. And then if he proves that he can be a guy who can do this consistently and can continue to be a franchise quarterback, then maybe you commit to him long term, and then you trade JJ McCarthy. But I think they're going to give him one more year on the tag. But the Vikings, I think I've said it before, but I want the Bills out of the AFC and either the Lions or Vikings out of the NFC.
Yeah,
in the Super Bowl.
That's the dream.
That would be the dream. Those are 3 long-suffering fan bases. None of them have a Super Bowl win. 2 of them have lost 4 times in the Super Bowl. Let's get some of those long-suffering fan bases an opportunity to hoist the Lombardi.
It's like college football. You know what the dream is there? What's the dream, Nick Frazier?
Win the national championship. That's the number 1 dream.
Well, who's in the national championship?
Oh, Oregon.
And?
Ohio State.
No.
Well, I'm talking about in the game.
No, I don't think you understand the question.
I don't.
The dream is Notre Dame and Oregon.
No.
Yes.
It's not the dream.
Why is that the dream?
Because those are coached new alumni teams.
Hmm.
The Catholics versus the Ducks. Save the Ducks.
I mean, they already did save the Ducks.
Well, I saved the Ducks.
You did.
I brought them back to prominence.
Relevancy.
You did.
I saved them, and I'm going back to Eugene.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Breaking news on our program
I just
here.
broke that news. We're leaving LSU to go to Oregon.
We've got plenty of texters on our text line letting us know they're listening. So we appreciate you and glad to be with you on this New Year's Eve morning.
Don't throw shade at the listeners.
No,
Yeah.
It's basically roll call. I'm just calling roll call. That's it.
Roll call.
Yeah.
Brian Y says he's listening and wants nothing but dart talk for the next 3.5 hours.
You could have that.
He said no Titans. Sorry, we're going to talk Titans.
Only darts.
Can you talk darts for 3 hours? Is that possible?
You want to know about Luke Littler's 100+ average?
Never heard of the guy.
I don't think
No,
I
not
do.
really.
Actually.
I don't really
You want to
care.
know what's his Michael Bunting? His walkout song is Ricochet, Fire Away. What's that song? Oh my goodness, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh,
Titanium.
Titanium.
Yeah, Titanium. Thank you. Yeah. Everybody goes nuts for that.
He's
even,
got Sia as his walkout song.
even Ed Sheeran was there, and he
Who
was
I learned is
singing
50
along.
the other
Sia
day.
is 50.
Yeah. I heard that on the number 1 segment in Sports Talk. Celebrity
Wow.
Birthdays. She's 50.
I had no idea. Sia, I guess she doesn't like really get out in the public eye very often. So it's not like
I don't know what she looks
honestly I
like.
don't even know what she looks like, but I wouldn't have expected her to be 50. Wow. Anyway, my headline this morning, I will go over to some Memorial Magic here.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're not going to talk college hoops today, but I was over at Memorial Gymnasium the last 2 days. Women's game on Sunday, men's game yesterday. And if you're not watching Vanderbilt Commodores basketball, you should. Those 2 teams, 25-2 so far this season in the non-conference. Shea Ralph and company, the women's team, they are just outside the top 25, the number 1 receiving vote getter outside of the top 25. And starting SEC play this week to open SEC play. And then on Sunday, Kentucky comes to town. That is a ranked Kentucky team, 2 p.m. tip. Tickets are $1 to that game. So
I may be there.
it's going to
Ooh.
be a really fun game. Kentucky's got a lot of good players. Georgia Amore, former All-American. She is on that team. And Vandy, Michaela Blake's freshman. She's averaging nearly 20 points per game. And Camille Pierre, maybe the best player in the SEC at this point in the season. She's averaging 23 points and 12 rebounds per game this season.
Don't
so
boo Kenny from the booth.
I will not boo Kenny from the booth. I do like Kenny. As much as I joke on here, Kenny Brooks is a very nice guy. But I do want to point out that the women are playing great. They've got 2 home games this week, and the men 11-1, or excuse me, 12-1, 12-1, 3 more wins already this year than they had all of last season.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yes, 9 wins last year. They've already got 12 this year. Put up 100 points for the 3rd time this season last night against New Orleans. Lots of good stuff happening over at Memorial on West End. So make sure to get out there and support the Doors over the next couple of weeks as SEC play starts. That's my headline. Lots of great games coming up this week. I believe the men open at LSU on Saturday, but next week they'll be back at home. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in, we are off and rolling on this New Year's Eve morning, a special edition of 4's Company. When we come back, we're going to dive into some college football. The quarterfinals are here. Penn State and Boise State tonight. Will it be the Nittany Lions and big game James Franklin moving on to the semifinals, or will Ashton Genty carry the Broncos past the quarterfinals round? We'll talk about it coming up next. 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Nude, Parker Kelly with you up until 10:30 a.m. We are leading you into coverage of the ReliaQuest Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. Rematch of last year's college football playoff semifinal. We're talking college football playoff quarterfinals here, as the first one is tonight, 3 more tomorrow. But first, Connor Nude wisely pointed out to me that I forgot to give our question of the day at the end of the first
Yeah, you
segment.
did.
I'm rusty. It's been a few weeks since I've hosted the show. Our question of the day today, as we wrap up 2024, what was your favorite sports moment of the year? It could be any sports moment. It could be one that is personal to you and your teams. Could just be one of the great moments that have happened this year. We'd love to hear from you. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text those in or call around 8 o'clock. At the top of the 8 o'clock hour, we are going to give our answers and we'll go through yours as well. What was your favorite sports moment of 2024? 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I've got a few ones in mind, but we'll get to our answers coming up at 8. First, college football playoff. We've gotten through the first round. All of the home teams won in pretty convincing fashion. Now we get to the quarterfinals. We'll start with tonight's game. Penn State, Boise State. This one is, out of the 4, I think this is
The worst one.
No, I think, honestly, the one I'm least excited for is Notre Dame, Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, that one just doesn't move the needle for me all that much.
Why?
Georgia playing with
What?
the backup quarterback.
It's going to be one in the trenches.
Okay, hold on. Kirby Smart said yesterday in his presser that the team plays better around Gunnar Stockton. There is a world
he's
where
gonna
the
say that,
entire
though.
team elevates because of the backup quarterback. If you watch how they played in the SEC championship, they came from behind and beat Texas with Stockton in.
I don't know. That one just doesn't. That's not one that I feel is must-watch TV. I'm gonna watch it, but the other ones stand out more to me. I love the matchup with this one because Penn State, James Franklin, known for choking on the biggest stage. He came through against SMU. Defense stepped up, picked off Kevin Jennings 3 times, 2 pick sixes.
Frazier doesn't want to talk
Let's
about
move
it.
on.
Sorry, yes.
all right.
Sorry, I forgot about our Ponies fan here.
It's all right. Let's move on.
But then you've got Boise State, who, yes, they're a Mountain West team, and you kind of expect the group of 5 team against a Big Ten top 5 squad like Penn State not going to hang in there. But they've got this X factor of the best running back in the country on their team.
The Lenny winner.
I'm really excited to see whether Ashton Genty can yes, the Lenny winner, can he carry Boise State past Penn State and into the semifinals?
I don't know, man. I just feel like this game and Texas and Arizona State are both going to be blowouts.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I agree that Texas and Penn State are better teams. And could they win by 10 plus points? Sure. But both those teams have X factors in the backfield that could completely change this game.
I don't know. We talked about this Saturday. I feel like when Arizona State and Boise State go and get their asses handed to them, it's going to be an embarrassment to this committee. Absolute embarrassment to put those 2 teams at 3 and 4.
Like you were saying, we talked about it last Saturday. I was in the camp of Boise State may not win, but they're going to keep it closer than Arizona State will against Texas. I think Arizona State is not having any chance at all.
I don't think it's going to be good.
Like that's the game I'm least interested in watching is Texas versus Arizona State. But as for Boise State, Penn State, I think that's a game that people are going to be like, wait a minute, let's turn the channel back to that game real quick. Like that's one of those games for me. I'm just like, all right, maybe Ashton Genty does get the Broncos over the hump.
Hey, it's Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. We know that usually can lead to some classic moments.
Coach Lyman knows all about that one. Bringing Oklahoma back.
Yes,
in the Fiesta
that
Bowl.
is true. Back in the Fiesta Bowl, Coach Lyman and the Oklahoma Sooners got revenge in the national championship to beat Boise State. I don't know. For those 2 games, I understand there is the possibility of a blowout. Texas and Penn State could run away with it. But I think the possibility of an upset is what intrigues me the most. Maybe that's why Notre Dame, Georgia, both those teams, I think it's going to be evenly matched, but I don't know if it's going to be that great of a game because, again, Georgia playing with a backup quarterback. Notre Dame, I think they could honestly make a run to the national championship game,
yeah.
but not because they're one of the best 2 teams in the country, just because they got lucky to be on that side of the bracket.
No, I agree with you there. I just feel like that's going to be much more of a marquee matchup than Penn State, Boise State.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously it's 2 big name teams, 2 big programs in Notre Dame and Georgia, but I feel like it's going to be a trench battle. Like we talked about this the other day. On one side, you got Jeremiah Love, arguably the most electric running back in the country behind Ashton Genty. Solid offensive line for Notre Dame. And then on the other side, obviously you got a backup quarterback in, but you got Trevor Etienne, who is arguably the best running back in the SEC. So I think it's a toss-up in the trenches. But if you had to give me the edge to one, I'm going Notre Dame. I think Jeremiah Love has what it takes. I think that offense is built around him, built around the rush attack with Riley Leonard as well as mobile threat. But I don't know. You know how Frazier gets his gut feelings when he's hungry or when something's going to happen?
Yeah.
I got that right now.
I haven't had a lot of those lately.
I feel like Notre Dame is going to go in there and beat Georgia.
Oh, I have a strong gut feeling. Did you just say Trevor Etienne was the best running back in the SEC?
We're not getting to this.
Oh,
We're
wow.
not getting into this.
Let me rephrase. Best running back in the SEC still in the playoff.
Yeah,
All right.
we're
2
not
shots
getting
for
into this.
one. Bing bong.
Boom. If Jake Wallman's not here,
So
Okay, that's not
Here's a-
being biased.
You're-
That's just
you're only saying he's better than Jaden Blue and is it Wisner, the other
To
running
be
back
fair,
from
I said
Texas?
arguably. And I forgot Dylan Sampson existed because his team's irrelevant now.
it's very true.
Wow.
He's not wrong there. Listen, like I said, if Jake Wallman's not here, somebody's got to take it.
Whoever sits behind that glass is 9 times out of 10 going to be a biased Vols fan, and 9 times
Okay,
out of 10 going to take the brunt from me and Nick Frazier.
y'all are just haters. That's what it is.
I haven't been on since that Tennessee performance up in Columbus.
Would you like to share your thoughts on it?
I think that says enough.
It does.
I don't need to dive into
Was that
it.
you turning the microphone towards the media?
I think Ohio State might be the most talented team in football. I mean, they have the $20 million roster. So with the way they played in that game, I'm not sure anybody could have beaten them. I
Yeah.
will say that. Like, it's not Tennessee's fault that they kind of ran into a buzzsaw that was ticked off after losing to their rival. And again, they've got 3 wide receivers who are fantastic, 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Great defense. Like that is a phenomenal team, and they played their best football in that game. But it also doesn't change the fact that, Tennessee, I think outside of that Alabama win, really hadn't played a whole lot of great teams. And how good was Alabama?
Bam.
What have we been saying?
Yeah.
What have we been saying?
And we'll
Is
see.
it a broken record at this point?
Hey,
I don't know.
Tennessee, it's been tough in the portal, but players always go out before they come in. It happens for every single team. You see all the departures. Everybody freaks out. We'll have to see what Josh Heupel does on the other end of the portal, but
Look at that.
we'll see what the Vols do next year.
Jake Lyman comes in as the voice of reason and says, you know what? These guys were right.
Yeah.
Look at us.
I
It
mean,
only took a month for
Look at
you
us.
guys don't need to convince me to go after the Vols. So.
that's all right.
They'll do it on their own.
Yeah, we'll do it.
It's
That's
like
to quote First Parker 1-1, the portal giveth and the portal taketh.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this. From the book of Nick Frazier's grocery list, the Tennessee Vols are on my slander list every day.
on your
Every
grocery
single
list?
day for no reason.
Uh,
You just wake up and choose violence.
Yeah,
no,
Uh,
I do feel bad because I'm sure there are Tennessee fans out there listening, and this show is just not big. We don't have the big orange glasses on,
Listen.
except for whoever's behind the board.
Yeah.
They
Unless it's
Hold
me.
on. I'm not as biased as another person that may sit behind this
Oh,
chair.
wow.
Listen,
But-
I'll be the
Calling
judge
him
of that.
out.
I'll be the
But-
judge of that.
I will carry the big orange flag if y'all will not do it.
It is a nice dynamic for this show because in here we all kind of go after the Vols. We do need somebody who's going to balance it out on the other side. So Jake Wallman and Parker Kelly fill that role.
Tip the scales.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you'd like to text or call. We'd love to hear from you. A special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company. We'll continue talking about the college football playoff on the other side. Who could be a sleeper to go win the whole thing? We've got some favorites, but who could come out of nowhere and take home the title in a couple of weeks? 615-737-1025, our phone number. New Year's Eve here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
What is it with you and the girly pop icon show tunes today?
Don't act like you don't like it.
Yeah, we got Katy Perry and Lady Gaga out of the
This
first
is
two
Eric
breaks.
Cartman.
You got like a pit bull
Oh,
or
you're
something.
right, it
Yeah,
is.
there's some pitbull in there.
This is Eric Cartman.
Yeah, his version is much better.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're going to karaoke night, I guarantee you're not choosing anything other than this song.
Hey, this is Tennessee radio, buddy. Don't talk trash about that, all right?
Choosing David Allen Coe for any sing-alongs at karaoke.
Hey guys, how do you wake up Lady Gaga? You poker face.
Boo.
I think you should get off the radio.
And that's where Jake Lyman stops his dad jokes for the year, folks.
This is why no one
Oh,
has heard of you.
I've got another one later on in the show.
This is why no one's heard of your show.
Yeah, 615-737-1025. If you want to text or call, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Game Nashville Sports Network is your home for college football bowl games and the college football playoffs, presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Today, 102.5 and 106.3. The game will start off with the Rely Quest Bowl right after us as Alabama takes on Michigan at 11 a.m. Coverage starts at 10:30, followed by South Carolina and Illinois in the Citrus Bowl. And later on tonight on 94.9 The Fan, you can catch the college football playoff quarterfinal as Penn State goes up against Boise State at 6:30 p.m. For a list of all the college football games carried on the Game Nashville Sports Network, visit thegamenashville.com/bowl games. We're talking college football playoff here on the show. Newt's Notes coming up in the next segment. And then our question of the day at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. What was your favorite moment in sports in 2024? We will get to our answers, and we'd love to hear from you as well coming up at 8 a.m. I asked the question heading into the break. Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas, I think, they're the favorites. I would think most people would guess one of those three teams is going to end up winning the national championship this year. Who do we think has a good shot to win it outside of those three? And those three are all on the same side of the bracket. So only one of them can even make the national championship game. The other four, Notre Dame, Georgia, Penn State, Boise State on the other side. And then, of course, Arizona State playing Texas this week. Any of those teams you think can make a run and end up winning the championship in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think Connor Newt's already mentioned the team previously.
Are you going the same way I'm going?
I think so. Notre Dame?
Yeah.
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 I just don't get me wrong. I'm still thinking Georgia wins this game this evening, or tomorrow, that is. But at the same time, Notre Dame, every single week that I've watched them play, they've always proved me wrong. I thought there'd be one game where they have a hiccup. Maybe they lose to Army. No. Maybe they lose to Navy. No.
They did, though. They lost to NIU.
Well, minus that game, they have rebounded really well. And to the point, I think Freeman's got that team rolling into a playoff that, honestly, I think they're kind of favored in my opinion, which is a weird thing to say because Georgia is a blue blood powerhouse in college football.
Yeah, and you see what Notre Dame has done since that loss to Northern Illinois. Like when they lost that game, I kind of thought their playoff chances were done. They had to basically run the table, and they did. They looked good against Indiana. I think they've got to come out. If they want to prove that they can win the national championship, they've got to come out and they've kind of got to blow Georgia out of the water. Like you've got to make that young quarterback frantic.
I feel like this game, Notre Dame and Georgia, the winner of that is going to the national championship. Because if you think about it, the winner of this game and the winner of Penn State and Boise State play in the semifinals.
Yeah.
I don't think either of those teams tip the scale for me and go into the national championship.
Yeah, this is why we need just to seed the teams 1 through 12.
Yep.
Because it is kind of ridiculous that the gauntlet on the other side where Oregon, the number one team in the country, has to play Ohio State in the quarterfinals. And then if they win that, they probably have to play the second best team in the country in Texas. I know Texas lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game, but it was in overtime. And now Georgia's without their starting quarterback. Texas has two starting quarterbacks, basically. Oregon got a terrible draw out of this, which wouldn't have happened if you had just seeded the teams 1 through 12. You would have gotten Texas to the other side of the bracket. Penn State would have been on the side with Oregon. And I believe Ohio State and Tennessee would have been on the other side too. because Ohio State would have been the 6 seed and Tennessee would have been the 7 or
Yeah,
something like that.
I think the way we've set it up, Tennessee would have hosted Indiana. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about like BCS? Is that what you're
Sort-
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Yeah. It'd been like Tennessee, Arizona State for BCS, but like I've seen
Arizona
other
State.
ones
That's
that
it.
have said like Tennessee would host whatchamacallit, what's its face? I'm drawing a blank as I'm looking at their name. Boise State. My goodness.
But even if you don't do BCS, even if you have the committee and just take their seating list, and instead of giving the auto buys, you just seed them 1 through 12, it would have created a much better bracket. Instead, you're probably going to get a semifinal of Texas and Oregon on one side, which feels like a national championship, and then like Penn State, Notre Dame on the other side, which, you know, it could end up being another national championship blowout because the bracket is just so lopsided.
Thank you for saying that, because I am worried about that as well. I mean, the fact that you have Notre Dame, a solid ball club, but at the same time, Penn State, who I think I don't want to be rude to Penn State fans, but I feel like they've had the easy road the whole year. Like if you look at their schedule,
There's no question about that.
So the fact of the matter is, if they end up beating Notre Dame in the semifinals and getting to the national championship, you're right. That might be a blowout.
I just can't see Penn State hanging in there with Oregon or Texas.
Mm-mm. I don't think they have the offense for that.
It's it's not going to be Georgia TCU, and no one's going to win 65-7. But
I could see it, or let's say Oregon and Penn State are your national championship. I could see it being like 35-10.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a sample size. We saw these two teams play in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
And Penn State looked really good on offense. I will say, everyone was talking about the cold weather last week for SMU and Penn State. I think the cold weather affected Penn State just as much as it did SMU.
Yeah.
Because their offense was not clicking. But we see when they were indoors at Lucas Oil and playing against Oregon, their offense was clicking like we've never seen before.
Right.
They're playing indoors against Boise State in Arizona. We could see the offense go off. I like the way they've been trending towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, but they've been inconsistent. Do I think Penn State can put the offense together 3 weeks in a row and beat? Yeah, they could beat Boise State. They probably will. They could beat Notre Dame. They could beat Georgia. But I don't know. On the biggest stage in the national championship, I can't see Penn State playing with the big boys. They could keep it within 10, but I think whoever comes out of that side of the bracket is your national champion.
Mm-hmm.
If Oregon, who's been the best team all year, they're the only undefeated team, if they can beat Ohio State, beat Texas, there's no Mickey Mouse national championship. They have completely earned it because the committee put them in a terrible spot.
So let me get this straight real quick. Georgia, a 2 seed on the, I guess you could say, favorable side of the bracket for them. If they were to make it to the college football playoff national championship, would you say that they'd be an underdog in some regard to any other team on the other side of the bracket?
Yeah. I mean, Georgia, if they were healthy, and I know we're talking about Carson Beck like he's Patrick Mahomes and he's out, but
he's a starting quarterback.
He's a starting quarterback. You're going to a guy who really has not played all that much football. That's the difference. I know Carson Beck hasn't been all that good this year, but he still is experienced and he's talented. I mean, they lost that game against Alabama, but he pulled them back with some big throws on the road against the Crimson Tide and made that a game late. He's a good quarterback. He hasn't been great this year. You're going to a guy with almost no experience playing in the biggest games of his life. I just can't. I can't get behind Georgia making a run.
So what I'm trying to get to is, what would you rather see, a Notre Dame or a Georgia in the national championship? Because right now, for what it sounds like, obviously I don't think any of us are picking Boise State to make it all the way. Nonetheless, Penn State probably not going to put up a good fight in a national title game. What would you rather have, Notre Dame or Georgia?
I think Georgia might be the best game.
Right.
I just don't know if they can make it there. If you've got to beat Notre Dame and Penn State in back-to-back weeks with a backup quarterback, I don't know if they can do it. But I think Georgia, because of the overall roster talent that they have, I think they could put up a better fight. It would just be a matter of, I think Dylan Gabriel Arch Manning / Quinn Ewers or Will Howard is going to outduel. Is it Gunnar Stockton? Is that
Yes.
that's what I thought.
I always
Like,
forget his name.
I was gonna say Stockstill, but that's our
That's-
Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, that's former Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. Gunnar Stockton. I can't see him outdueling those three, but Georgia's overall roster, like, it can match up with anybody.
My gut is now telling me something, Connor. You ready? Gunnar Stockton, the next Stetson Bennett.
Really.
That's what my gut's telling me.
Hey,
right now.
if he wins a national championship, he can go down in the Cardell Jones lore of backup quarterbacks to step in and just
Cardell Jones Hall of Fame.
win 3 straight games to win a national championship.
We should make an award for that too.
We should.
Yeah, there
could
you go.
Make the name of it.
The Cardell Jones
The Cardell Jones.
postseason MVP.
Oh, just
Yeah.
straight up Cardell Jones. Okay.
Cardell.
The Cardell. The I don't do school. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. And again, our question of the day, if you have an answer, what is your favorite sports moment of 2024? You can text or call our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, it's an early edition of Newt's Notes here at 7:45. What does Connor Newt have up his sleeve?
I don't
We'll
think he
find out
knows.
next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta. Notes.
The production quality on this one is really well done.
I had to go out of 2024 with a bang.
Right. No, this is a good one. 4's Company, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you, but it is time for Newt's Notes. This is Connor Newt's segment. Take it away.
Okay, so yesterday, obviously with the draft coming up, and, I say coming up, it's 6 months from now. Feels like.
Still got to be prepared.
Got to be
4
prepared.
months from now.
4 months. Sorry, guys.
We don't math.
But the Tennessee Titans are not good at football. Little did we know.
Shocking.
Shocking, I know.
What?
What if I told you the
When
New
did this
England
happen?
Patriots have the number 1 pick and the Tennessee Titans have the number 2 pick? Sounds
Wow.
about right. Anyways, yesterday there was a thing that came out from Fox Sports analyst Nick Wright. He proposed this absolutely crazy trade scenario. So the Patriots obviously own the number 1 pick. They would take Shedeur Sanders at number 1. Then they call up Rand Carthon and company, assuming that's who's making the draft. They call him up, trade Drake May for the number 2 pick, straight up, and take Travis Hunter. The Patriots then fire Gerard Mayo as their coach and hire Deion Sanders. Absolute insanity that obviously I don't think is anywhere close to happening. But if you're the Titans, do you look at this and you're like, I'd take Drake May? Because I kind of do.
It's a completely ridiculous scenario. But I think the answer is yes if you're the Titans. If Sanders goes 1 and you're on the clock at 2, your options at that point are take the best player available, whether you think that's Travis Hunter or Tet McMillan or Abdul Carter, or take a quarterback, Cam Ward. If you're all in on trying to find your quarterback of the future and the only option in the draft is Cam Ward and somebody offers you Drake May, who is a top 3 pick from a year ago and already has proven that he can play at the NFL level and he's shown some flashes, I think you take it. The Patriots wouldn't offer it though. The Patriots wouldn't do this. Like,
they're not doing it.
It's a ridiculous scenario, and it's Nick Wright, so par for the course there. But if you're the Titans, I think you sprint to the podium to say, or call that trade in immediately and say, yeah, we'll take Drake May for the 2nd overall pick.
Here's the thing. If you're offering Drake May for the number 2 pick, whether it be Travis Hunter, whether it be Cam Ward, regardless, it's a top 3 pick. That has more value to me than a top 10 pick. So if I'm Rand Carthon, I would want more compensation out of that. I would ask for, okay, you can give us Drake May, but we'll also take a 3rd round pick. We'll take a 3rd and a 4th, something like that. I feel like maybe a 3rd and a 4th is maybe too much, but you would have to throw something extra in for me to be, excited about that. I don't know if I could take Travis Hunter, who's arguably a generational player, the best player in this draft, who should probably go number 1. I don't know if he will because of the cards at hand and the way the cards fell. Or, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyways.
The way the cards fell.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's an old people thing. I'm not old, if you can't tell. I don't know. You'd have to give me something extra for me to get excited about that.
So, Connor, can I ask you something?
No. Good.
Okay. So, would you rather have Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or Drake May?
You're asking me to pick between those 3?
If you had to pick between Shedeur Sanders / Cam Ward, one of the 2, or Drake May, which one are you going with?
I mean, in this scenario, Shedeur is off the table. So it's between Drake May and Cam Ward. I give Drake May the edge because he's played in the NFL. He's a proven guy on a bad team. And he was a top 3 pick a few years ago. So, or last year, So
if this scenario were to stand as of right now, the Patriots have the number 1 draft pick. There's no way they're drafting a quarterback. They'd most likely go Travis Hunter, I would think, unless they traded back. So that would open up for the Titans to either get Shedeur or Cam Ward or somebody else, the best available.
Yeah. I'm just going based off this scenario where they do take Shedeur number 1. Then Travis is on the board. Obviously, they offer up Drake May. Titans trade the number 2 overall pick to the Patriots. They take Travis. And then the weirdest part is, let's fire our first-year head coach, Gerard Mayo, and hire Deion Sanders, another unproven NFL coach.
And really the only great thing about Deion, I'm not saying he's not a good football coach, but the reason he's successful is because he can recruit. Like that is the main reason why Colorado's gotten better, is because people want to play for Deion Sanders. You can't recruit in the NFL. A little bit in free agency, I guess, but NFL players aren't going to be as enthused by the shine of playing for primetime as an 18-year-old kid will.
Deion would be an absolute fool to leave college football. I think he would. Now, whether he stays at Colorado, I don't know. I kind of lean yes now. I don't know, but he'd be a fool to leave just because of what you just said. He's a great recruiter. Guys want to play for him because he's a motivator. You go to the NFL, that all goes away because the coach doesn't control who's on the roster for the most part.
Right.
You're getting paid $5 million. You're getting paid $10 million. Deion's getting paid $15 million. There's not much separation there.
It's a
Zero authority.
It's a completely ludicrous idea. I think more likely, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, if they do fire Mayo, I think Vrabel goes to the Patriots.
Yeah, I think so too.
And Vrabel, I saw yesterday that his contract expired yesterday as a consultant to the Browns, so he can start interviewing for jobs immediately. We have some texters with thoughts on this. Tim says, take Hunter. No way we traded 2 for May. He says May took his team to a number 1 overall pick. Tim, I think you might want to look at the rest of that roster. The Patriots are terrible.
I mean, who's his number 1 receiver? Kendrick Bourne?
Pop Douglas.
Kayshon Boutte?
I forget who tweeted it yesterday. It might have been Daniel Jeremiah. He tweeted, if you want to know what the Patriots' number 1 priority should be in the draft, take a look at this screenshot. And it was both tackles. You could see the back of their jerseys while Chargers pass rushers were converging on Drake May.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of Connor Newts blocking for him.
Whoa.
Hey,
Just because we're out here putting some Tennessee slander on you doesn't mean you go after one of the
Are you calling me fat on my show?
I didn't say you were fat.
Do you see this technique right here? That you don't want to touch.
You don't
that.
want this, son. Meet me in the parking lot.
You don't want to touch that.
I think that the Titans, as long as they lose on Sunday, are going to have, and we'll talk about this more later in the show, they're going to have a path to get whatever quarterback they want, because the Patriots, they're going to want to trade back.
Unless they want Travis Hunter.
And I think the Patriots have so many holes on their roster. Yes, Travis Hunter is going to be a superstar, but I think they would rather trade back, get an offensive lineman, and pick up a bunch of picks.
Mm.
Or what you could do if you're the Patriots, if you do want Travis Hunter, do what the 49ers did a few years ago, 2017, with Mitch Trubisky, and say, hey, Titans, we're going to auction this pick off to the highest bidder unless you give us your 2nd-round pick to move up and take Shedeur Sanders. So the Titans, although it might not be great if you have the 2nd overall pick and have to trade up, there will be a path for them to get whatever quarterback they want. It's a matter of whether whoever is making the pick, whether that's Rand Carthon or if Rand Carthon is no longer the GM of the Titans, do they think Shedeur Sanders is the future? And if they do, you should do whatever it takes to go get him.
Yeah, that's how it is. If you think your guy is in that draft,
you go get him.
I saw it with, well, sort of. You saw it with Will Levis in the 2nd round. Titans liked him. He was there.
But you had a chance to take him at 11.
You
didn't. If you are picking 2nd in a draft and you don't have a quarterback, you got to find a way to get one. If you like one. If you hate all these quarterbacks and think they're all busts, trade back or pick the best player available, figure it out. But if you like a quarterback and you're picking 2nd overall, you cannot pass, because who knows where you're going to be picking next year. It's hard to get into the top 2 of a draft.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this plenty coming up in the next hour. So plenty more Titans talk coming on 4's Company here. But when we come back, we're going to start off hour number 2 answering our question of the day. What is your favorite sports moment of 2024 as we head in to the new year tomorrow? We're going to give our answers. If you have answers, you can text or call 615-737-1025. Special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2 on this special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, and Parker Kelly. We're with you till 10:30, leading you in to coverage of the ReliaQuest Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. Spent most of the first hour on college football. We'll spend hour number 2 mainly talking Titans, as currently the Titans sitting with the number 2 pick in April's draft. One more game to go. If they lose, they are guaranteed to pick in the top 2. Could get up to the top pick if the Patriots beat the Bills. We'll talk about that coming up in the next segment. But first, let's get to our question of the day. What is your favorite sports moment of 2024? Let's get to our answers first. But if you have answers, you can text or call 615-737-1025. Connor Newt, why don't you lead us off? What was your favorite sports moment of 2024?
Oh, I got 2. Number 1 was the press conference in Rupp Arena when Mark Pope was introduced as the next head coach. That was one of the most electric spectacles I think I've ever watched. That was a whole weird story. Calipari leaves for Arkansas. They hire Mark Pope. Everyone hates it in the first day. Then we come around on it within a day. We're like, maybe he's not bad after we watch some film and let it marinate overnight and stuff like that. He comes into Rupp Arena on the bus with the trophy from 1998, the year he won the national championship with Kentucky. That place erupts, pun intended. The fan base is excited beyond compare. That whole press conference, if you haven't watched it and you're a Kentucky fan, go watch it. The second is not as sports related, but kind of, because we spent all year talking about this. The buildup to college football 25, and then when it finally came out,
That's a good one.
that was one of the highlights of my life. I mean, I sound horrible saying that. I sound like an
Waited
absolute
10
nerd.
years.
Yeah.
No, it is.
I waited my entire life. I had never played NCAA before. And this was the first one I've ever played, and I now have like 350 hours plugged into it. So that's 2 weeks of my life I'll never get back.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good one. Yeah, that was an exciting day. I mean, I remember our show from that week before. That was all we could talk about.
Yeah.
So, no, those are both good ones.
I don't think we'll ever feel a buildup like that again.
Yeah.
Unless they do, for me, if they do NCAA basketball, which in the works, it looks like. But that was all people could talk about.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, and that's all you see on social media is people playing it and people loving it. It's still hot. People will tell you the game's dying. It ain't dying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good one. It's been fun the last few months. And, the college football season being as intriguing as it's been has definitely helped out as well. Nick Frazier, what darts moment stood out to you in 2024?
As much as I want to say there was a specific darts moment, I mean, 2024 was a pretty bad year for all my favorite sports teams.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Brisbane Broncos out in Australia. They were supposed to win it all this year. They did not make the playoffs. The St. Louis Cardinals, absolute bottom of the barrel team. I mean, Paulo Fonseca and AC Milan, he gets sacked this year. I mean, it's a brutal year for me when it comes to fandom.
What sport is that?
That's Italian soccer, AC Milan. That's my favorite team of all time. Nonetheless, all my teams are bad this year. So probably the only highlight would be the golf. Scotty Scheffler, good for him. He won 5 or 6 tournaments, and he won a gold medal.
Yeah, gold medal at the Olympics, won the Masters.
I think he's out 3 to 4 weeks now.
Yeah, he got a cut in broken glass in his hand or something.
Yeah.
Needed surgery.
Sounds like he had a good time over the holidays.
Yeah. It's been an interesting 2024 for Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
For sure. Getting arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
American hero.
He
Yes.
bounced back though.
He
Bounced
did.
back like a true champion.
He did.
But no darts for me as a highlight. I think Luke Littler just by himself is the number one highlight of the darts world. So
I need a counter on how many times you say the name
Luke Littler.
per
I'm
show.
telling y'all, if I show y'all highlights of this man, or kid, however you look at him, he's just throwing darts consistently at certain numbers and he hits them.
Nashville sports fans are going to have a better base dart knowledge than any city in the country if they
on
listen to our
Tennessee
show.
radio. Are you serious?
Yeah,
He's 17 years old.
he is.
Yeah. Just like
17
Ryan
years old.
Williams.
Just like wait, he's 17.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Oh.
think they've ever mentioned that before.
And this guy's averaging 100.85 points on a dart, man. I mean, that's his average per 3 darts.
Can't believe you'd bring that up on Tennessee radio. This is
Just-
why no one knows who you are.
Sorry.
Speaking of Tennessee radio, Parker Kelly, your favorite 2024 sports moment.
We're going to the Diamond, baby.
There it is.
The Tennessee Baseballs bring home a national championship. It is Tennessee's first major national championship since 2008 when the Lady Vols won with Pat Summitt. So there's only one correct answer for me.
Yeah, your team wins a national championship. That's got to be it, right?
I've had a little bit more baseball luck than my friends who just went. So
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I would go. Well, first off, I'll say personally for me, Vandy making the tournament and going back to Blacksburg where I went to school, like that was awesome. The selection show, seeing Vanderbilt pop up and being Blacksburg, Virginia, like that was cool to go back to Castle Coliseum where I called like 100 games as a student and got to call an NCAA tournament game, 2 of them. That was really cool. But in terms of being a fan, most of my teams were awful too. But my Tigers, Kerry Carpenter hitting the 3-run blast off Emmanuel Clase in the ALDS. That was awesome. I had been waiting 10 years for a postseason baseball moment like that. And to have Kerry Carpenter, another Hokie, hit the home run to even up the series against Cleveland, even though the Tigers ended up losing that series. That was really fun. So I would say those 2 for me, but plenty of great moments in 2024 in sports. Trying to think of any big ones like overall.
I think there's one in Nashville we're forgetting. The goalpost. Vanderbilt beating
Oh, right.
Alabama.
Yes. And I was thinking about that on the way in. Yes, that was an awesome. Yeah. Vanderbilt beating Alabama. I think that honestly could be number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt beating the number 1 team in the country and carrying the goalpost down Broadway and into the Cumberland. I can't really think of any other moment that tops that, right?
Not locally.
I mean, if they would have beaten Texas, that would have probably topped it. But I mean,
Yeah. But
Alabama,
even like nationally, like what else has happened this year? There wasn't like any huge March Madness upset buzzer beater.
Yeah. Well, there was one big upset.
Well, yeah, but it's not like it was like a half court heave or something like that. Like the Super Bowl overtime win, that one, I guess it's only the second overtime Super Bowl ever. So that would be up there too. But I think Vandy beating Alabama, that's the sports moment of the year, right?
it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Clark Lee rallies his team to take on a number 1 overall team in the nation and beats them on their home field, it's incredible.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, you could go Olympics. The USA just dominating.
Yeah, Olympics would be good. I mean,
That's a real David versus Goliath like showdown, though.
Yeah,
Alabama, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
What
It's
everybody's
such an underdog story.
Everybody's thinking Vandy's always a little brother in the SEC, and they go and beat Big Brother.
right.
on
It's-
Tennessee radio.
how often is that going to happen where like Vanderbilt has been in the category of, Indiana in football and like teams that just, it's like Nick Saban said it a few weeks before that. The only easy place to go play is Vanderbilt. And I loved the Vandy in-house marketing crew putting that up right after the game ended.
I got one. The Preds going on a 19-point game
That's
point
great
streak.
too. Yeah. Canceling the U2 concert at the Sphere.
Figured the Predators fans would need some sort of positivity about their team.
We're going to talk a little Preds later in the show.
I'd rather not.
They play the Wild tonight, part of a long road trip, but that is a good one too. It's been a tough end to 2024 across Nashville sports, except for Vanderbilt. But
It's a good start.
early on, the Preds were carrying water for Nashville sports through January and February and making the playoffs. So a lot of good to look back on. And then, of course, Stamkos, and even though it hasn't quite worked out this year, but that July 1st, where all those guys signed, that was really fun too. So lots of great sports moments. If you've got more, you can text or call 615-737-1025. But when we come back, we're going to get back into the Titans. We just spent the last segment kind of talking about what the Titans could do if they end up having the number 2 or number 1 overall pick. We'll continue that conversation next. What will the Titans do at quarterback this offseason? That's up next here on 4's Company, special New Year's Eve edition on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Nick Frazier fired up, ready to throw some darts. Let's go. Boom. 4's Company, New Year's Eve special edition with you till 10:30. Coming up after us, all the bowl games. We got the Relay Quest Bowl. We've got South Carolina, Illinois later on. And then the Preds and Wild today on 102.5 starting at 6. And the College Football Playoff on 94.9. So plenty of great sports on the Game Nashville Sports Network later on today. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly, 4's Company. Let's get into the Titans. We dipped our toe into it in the last hour, but the Titans, with their loss to the Jaguars, have guaranteed that with a loss on Sunday, will pick no lower than second. I believe they could fall as low as 7th if they beat the Texans on Sunday. They would be the highest picking team that needs a quarterback if they lose. We talked about this a little earlier. The Patriots, unless Nick Wright is a soothsayer, what is it called? A psychic, and he knows that the Patriots are going to trade Drake May and draft Shedeur Sanders. The Titans will have a path to whatever quarterback they want if they're picking second behind the Patriots. Is it going to be Shedeur Sanders in two-tone blue in 2025? Do we think that is the most likely path if the Titans do end up losing and picking either first or second in April?
I'm going to have to clear the air first before I answer that. There was an exercise we did about 2-3 weeks ago that Jake Lyman put me in a bad situation of having to possibly pick Shedeur Sanders over Travis Hunter and Will Levis.
So it was the question was, if you're picking high enough, do you take Travis Hunter and pair him with Will Levis? This was also before Will Levis completely imploded against the Bengals, by the way.
Right.
And
he knows that I've been out on Will Levis since after the week of Miami or the week.
I know
of
that
Miami.
too. Why are you leaving me out?
Well, and you too. Sorry, and you too.
Why?
But no, to answer his initial question today, I would not draft Shedeur Sanders.
Really?
I would. Listen, the Titans need much more than a quarterback, in my opinion. You could trade out of that top 2 spot, get so much draft capital, and like we've been talking a little bit off air and on air, this is not a great draft in grand total of things. So like you could trade back and get some more draft capital in the following year's draft.
Yeah.
But Nick Frazier, it's Rand Carthon, and he only has good drafts.
Well, he's not cooking in my cookbook.
No,
I'll tell you that much.
I'm making fun of people that say that.
I know.
And I do get the idea of trading out of it, picking up a first-round pick for next year, and then you have ammo if you want to move up, because I think the quarterback class next year is going to be a little bit better. Drew Aller's going back to Penn State, Garrett Nussmeier back to LSU, and then maybe Nico and Arch Manning come out. But are any of those guys generational automatic number 1 picks at this point? Probably not. And you trade that pick, who knows? You could end up having, let's say the Titans sign Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins instead of picking a quarterback, and you go 7-10. The team that trades up with you goes 6-11.
It's a better pick.
You're not going to be in a position to pick a quarterback next year, or at least you're not guaranteed to be. If you are picking first or second, and you have a quarterback there that you believe could be the guy, you have to take him. You do. You have to.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm about to go on a Jared rant. Like, I'm gonna say the cap is fake. Go and grab just any quarterback in the NFL and go on with it. Like that's me. I just you can't go and grab a quarterback in the draft that for me I'm not a fan of. I mean, he's a good athlete. Don't get me wrong. Shedeur's a great athlete. I just don't think that's what the Titans need, in my opinion, a Shedeur Sanders.
It is tough for me because 2 weeks ago, I thought it was almost impossible for the Titans to end up this high in the draft. So I thought it wasn't going to be an issue. But how many times have the Titans picked in the top 2 over the last 20 years or so? Twice. And they traded out of one of them.
Yeah.
And the one time you didn't, you had to pick a quarterback. You picked Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders he's not Joe Burrow. He's not the prospect that Trevor Lawrence was. He's not Andrew Luck. But I think he is going to be worthy of that pick. And quickly, before we go to our phone lines, I was trying to point out to you, Connor, Robbie Stanley is on our text line. Robbie, Connor cannot see the text line right now, but Robbie says, Connor Newt, you will acknowledge me. Connor Newt, do it now. So there you go.
What?
I had to point that out to you.
What?
Uh,
Why'd you acknowledge him?
It's in all caps. So Robbie really wanted you to acknowledge him.
On Tennessee radio? Not okay.
Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kenny the mailman wants to chime in. Kenny, happy New Year. How you doing?
Excellent. How are y'all?
Doing great.
I wish y'all a great happy new year and each and every one of you grow in importance and status at the radio station.
Thank you, Kenny.
Fill in left and right. Listen, I do so appreciate y'all talking about our favorite moments from this past year because, listen, I'm an old guy. I am so old. I have seen Halley's Comet. I've seen the fall of the Berlin Wall. And now I've seen the goalposts of Vanderbilt University being paraded down West End after a defeat of Alabama. Thousands and thousands of people following. Now, most of them were drunks from out of state that can't spell Vanderbilt, but we'll take it. But that was an amazing sight. Y'all do realize I've been around so long that has not happened in about 7 decades.
Yeah.
The last time they defeated Alabama here in 1969, Watson Brown was a young quarterback. Our president was Nixon, and we were in the Vietnam War. So that is a long time ago. 10 years after that, young Key, I wasn't the mailman. I was selling programs in Vanderbilt Stadium. Vandy scores first against Alabama, 3-0. I'm looking at the scoreboard and saying, what if? At the end of the day, it was 66-3. And with 1 minute to go, Alabama scores a touchdown. Y'all don't know this. Are you ready for this?
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
And then they went for 2.
Oh.
Now you just think about that. I said words that day. If my mama heard them, she would have disowned me.
Just
So-
rubbing it in.
There's not a lot of people that go way back on history like that. Most people just, come and go as fans. But when you're able to see something like that after defeat after defeat after defeat, it means a lot. So that we will remember that from 2024.
Kenny, thanks for the call. That is definitely, I mean, we were mentioning it, probably the best moment from 2024 in sports. And you hear it on all our promos. Andrew Allegretta's call, the greatest win in Vanderbilt football history. And it certainly was that. Kenny, hope you have
It might just be. Can you imagine a team today being ahead 64-3 and going for 2?
No.
The fights it would cause would be unbelievable.
Yeah, the coaches
We'll
might
talk to y'all
fight
later.
at midfield. Kenny, thanks for the call. Hope you have a great new year.
The state of Ohio might make that a felony if you go for 2.
Right, that's true. Yeah, they might introduce that in the House of, hey, you can't go for 2 if you're up by 60 late in games. 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. We're going to keep talking Titans on the other side. If the Titans have the chance to take Shedeur Sanders, should they? We've had some mixed reactions on our text line. We'll get to some of those answers coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, and Parker Kelly. Special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Special New Year's Eve edition, 4's Company on this Tuesday morning. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, and Parker Kelly with you for the next 2 hours leading in to the ReliaQuest Bowl, Michigan and Alabama. Pre-game coverage starting at 10:30 on these airwaves. We're talking Titans here. Titans have put themselves in a great draft position with the tough play they've had over the last month or so. Currently, with a loss on Sunday to the Texans, they will pick no lower than second in April's draft. With a Patriots win over the Bills backups on Sunday, the Titans could pick first. Gives them a chance to pick a quarterback. We're kind of going through the idea of, do you think Shedeur Sanders is worth that pick? If you have the opportunity to pick him, whether that's first or second, do you do it? Wes in Clarksville on our text line, and you can chime in as well, 615-737-1025. Wes in Clarksville says Sanders would get destroyed behind that O-line. It would be another dumpster fire. Callahan gets fired after next year. Then they'll have a new coach with a rookie quarterback. I don't think you can really think of it that way.
That is something I did think about, though. Shedeur takes a lot of sacks.
He does, but he's played behind a terrible offensive line.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
Colorado
he takes
line,
a lot of sacks, or his linemen just suck.
I mean, he takes some. Like, there are some plays where he just kind of sits there waiting for probably Travis to get open, and then he bows his head and takes it. So
I don't think that texture's far off, though. I mean, if we remember the Wiz and Hunt days, like I believe it was like week 4 or 5 of the following season that he got canned. And like, nonetheless, this is a different scenario. But I mean, you have a really bad season this year. You get this would be considered, if they do draft Shedeur, this would be considered Brian Callahan's guy.
right? He would be tied to Shedeur Sanders'
Right.
success. That would, like, we've said that Brian Callahan was tied to Will Levis because he came in and said Will Levis is a big reason why I took this job.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can really do that. Every coach is going to say that coming in. They want to get the job. No one who wants the job is going to say, no, I hate Will Levis. I don't want to work with him.
cut him now.
It's crowd pleasing for sure.
It's not going to happen. Like, I know Jared says that. It's like, oh, he came in and said he loves Will Levis. But like, who's not going to say that? You want an NFL head coaching job. There's only 32 of them.
Yeah.
I think Brian Callahan's going to get a shot with his own quarterback. And I think if you're picking in the top 2 and Shedeur Sanders is available, I think you have to take him. Here's Matt from Camden has given me an idea. And I think this is actually maybe not a perfect plan for this offseason, but I think it is a good idea. If the draft stays as is, he says the Patriots will take Hunter. I don't know if that's how it works out. I think the Patriots would want to auction that pick off to the highest bidder. I think the Titans would have to trade up if they pick second and they want Shedeur Sanders. I think you have to give up either your second round pick this year, but in this scenario, let's say you trade a second round pick next year because you don't want to give up that pick. I think that would be enough to do it, to go from 2 to 1. I think your second round pick next year would be enough. Maybe you throw in one other pick somewhere. But let's say the Titans get Sanders, whether that's at 1 or 2. He says take a right tackle with their second round pick. I think you'd have some options there. The one guy I kind of like, Ariante Ursuri out of Minnesota. I think he's a guy who could be available.
I wonder how you know who that is.
Yes, I've coached Minnesota, but he is a guy going to the Senior Bowl. Keep an eye on him. He actually plays my Virginia Tech Hokies in the Duke's Mayo Bowl next week. So if you want to watch that game, he's a guy who I think could be available early in the second round. Maybe that's a guy you go get, and then sign T. Higgins in free agency. I'm not sure I 100% can get behind T. Higgins, but I do like the idea of you have to add to that wide receiver room.
T seems more willing to take a pay cut to stay with the Bengals.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he's been kind of vocal about it.
Look at what Jamar Chase has done this year.
Yeah.
The Bengals are going to have to pay him a ridiculous contract. They're not giving, and with the way Higgins has played, I mean, the game he had on Saturday night
to keep their season alive,
they are going to pay Chase. Higgins is going to walk. You're going to overpay for Higgins, but the Titans have a good amount of cap space again. If you go quarterback and you go tackle with your first 2 picks, you could go wide receiver in free agency. Higgins, he's a Tennessee guy. You'd have to pay a lot of money for him. And the question would be, are you paying Calvin Ridley and T. Higgins both to be wide receiver ones when they both might be better wide receiver twos?
Yeah.
Like that's where you run into trouble. But it would set up Shedeur Sanders with a very good group around him. You now have a first-round pick left tackle, first-round pick left guard, a highly paid center when Lloyd Cushenberry comes back, and an early second-round pick at right tackle. Good offensive line. You've got 2 highly paid receivers, and you've got Mr. Reliable Honda Accord, Nick Westbrook-Akine. That is a good setup for a rookie quarterback if you're able to get him. I think that would put Shedeur Sanders in a good position. But is all of that feasible? Who knows? I don't know if that's actually going to work.
Let me throw this at you. Let's say they do get Sanders. Do you throw in the offseason during training camp, do you allow Will Levis to compete for the starting job to start the year off?
You have to.
With who?
With Shedeur.
No.
No, you have to.
No, you have to. You let him compete, but he's not guaranteed the starting spot like
That's
he
what I'm
was
saying.
last
That's what
offseason.
I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
He has to
Right.
be in camp to give the rookie quarterback some form to. I
He'll
wouldn't
be in camp, but
Yeah.
you guys are crazy if you think there is any actual competition. If you
No.
pick Shedeur Sanders, he is the starting
no.
quarterback.
I'm not
we
saying-
have.
No. That's not
100%.
exactly.
That's
no.
not what I'm saying.
I'd rather have Will Levis as the backup than Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So-
No.
I think
You
don't think so?
No.
the Titans will bring 3 quarterbacks into camp next year. Like if they pick Sanders, let's say you have Shedeur Sanders. I think Will Levis will be in camp, and you'll probably sign a veteran, whether that's Mason Rudolph or somebody else. Will Levis gets cut at the end of training camp. That's how it's going to work out. But yes, I think Levis will be in training camp.
That's what I meant by that. I didn't mean
No,
by actually.
Shedeur
no.
Sanders, if it
I
like-
saw his face like, no, that's not what I meant.
like I know Jared does the whole thing with Anthony Richardson of like, you should walk to the podium, draft Anthony Richardson, and say that he is not starting until next year. Shedeur is not going to do that. If you pick him, Shedeur Sanders is
Yeah,
your starting quarterback.
Shedder's ready. He's ready.
Hey,
Right.
I think he's the only quarterback in this draft that's ready.
I agree. I think Cam Ward, if you pick him, that's a guy you want to bring in a veteran to start next year.
Yeah.
But I think Shedeur, the issue with Shedeur Sanders is he's not a project quarterback. Like he's a guy who's going to come in and he's either going to be really good or he's not going to be very good. Like that's kind of how it's going to go. Wes in Clarksville asking the question. And actually, let's get to this in the next segment because this is an important part of it. Do you think Nashville can handle the Dion drama that comes with drafting Shedeur Sanders?
No.
And that's something I wanted to get into. Dion had time yesterday, and he went on Twitter. We will talk about that coming up next. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders being a Titan. Will he even be allowed to be a Titan is the question. And we'll talk about the prime time drama that comes with Shedeur Sanders coming up next. A special New Year's edition of 4's Company. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly coming back right after this on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. 4's Company, 1025, 1063 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly with you on this New Year's Eve up until 10:30. When we get into bowl coverage, we've got Alabama, Michigan, South Carolina, Illinois coming up later on the game. Preds Wild coming up with pregame coverage at 6. We're talking Titans, whether they will have a chance to draft Shedeur Sanders and whether they'll do it if they do get that opportunity. And Wes in Clarksville brought up a good point on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Do you think Nashville can handle the Deion drama that comes with drafting Shedeur Sanders? And this kind of stems from yesterday. There was a parody NFL insider account. It's a fake account who tweeted out that Deion Sanders does not want Shedeur playing for the Browns or Titans. And Coach Prime bit on the bait there. He has since deleted the tweet where he posted the screenshot of the direct message that he sent. Was it Wesley Steinberg or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, whoever the fake NFL insider is. But he did keep up the other tweets. Coach Prime yesterday tweeting, "It will be multiple idiots," in all caps, "that will say things that totally aren't true regarding where I would like Shedeur and Shiloh to play in the NFL. If I say it, I will say it directly to whom it may concern. I'm not an attention seeker." All right. I do know NFL commish Roger Goodell personally. Mic drop. They've already started the lying and positioning, but they forgot I got time today. So Prime not outwardly saying that he would be okay with the Titans drafting Shedeur, but did say that did not come from him. I am glad to hear that Prime is going to let the teams know directly, because let's say things do work out for the Titans this weekend. They lose to the Texans, Patriots beat the Bills, Titans end up with the number 1 overall pick. I would love for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, if he says that he's not going to let Shedeur play for the Titans, let them know immediately. Titans can auction it off to the Giants or the Raiders or wherever he does want to go. And you can still end up with a great pick. I was just looking through the Titans' chances to pick in the top 5. Since moving to Nashville, they've only picked in the top 5. They've had 4 opportunities to pick in the top 5. They traded out of the number 1 pick in 2016. They picked 6th in 2005. Pretty much all of these guys have not worked out for the Titans. Pac-Man Jones, 6th overall pick in 2005. Vince Young obviously had his flashes, but did not work out as the number 3 overall pick in 2006. Marcus Mariota, 2nd overall in 2015. 2016, you traded out Corey Davis, the 5th overall pick in 2017. The only time the Titans have really taken advantage of having a top 5 pick was when they traded out in 2016. So unless you can take Shedeur Sanders and you think Shedeur Sanders is your franchise quarterback, the most surefire way to make sure you don't mess this thing up is to trade out and get as many picks as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of a sidebar on this. When did this mentality of I'm going to play for who I want to play as a rookie come from?
I mean, it's because of his dad.
Well, it's because of Eli Manning.
Right.
That's where that started.
Yeah.
But you're a rookie. You go where they tell you to go. And I mean, I get it. It's Coach Prime. He's the almighty father of football, I guess. But it's just, I don't know if I can handle this mentality. Based on what I'm seeing from Deion, I don't want to do this. I don't want to listen to him. I don't want to listen to Shedeur, because Shedeur is just as guilty of some of this stuff. Listen to him on the field. Go listen to him mic'd up. It's constant trash talk. They beat earlier this season. It was Colorado State. And he just started talking to the quarterback. The quarterback goes, "Okay, just keep talking." And guess what he did? Oh, he kept talking and saying some things I can't say on the air. But just, I don't know if I can do Shedeur. He's a good player. I just don't know. I think he would end up being a cancer.
He'd make the Titans, the team itself, everybody's Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah.
You catch that drift?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, from preseason. Yeah, I'm not on the Shedeur train. I can't grab onto it. I can't punch my ticket for it. Like you mentioned, the best way the Titans have dealt with the top 5 pick as they traded out in 2016.
Yeah.
I'm in the camp of doing that because I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't think this Titans regime can handle a top 2, top 3 pick. I really don't. And I think if Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon want to prolong their tenures here with the Tennessee two-tone blue, I think you got to trade back, because the more you trade back, I'd say you'd have more room for error in some regard.
Right. You get more shots at it.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people would be putting a lot more flack on Rand Carthon if he were to miss with the number 2 overall pick.
I think if you like Shedeur, like I've said, you have to do it. You have to take him. But I think trading back might be the safest play, like you said. And with Dion and his impact on it, I understand people say, why would he want to play in Tennessee, small market? But I also think that Dion might want that because Shedeur isn't going to be under as big of a microscope as he would be if he was the Giants quarterback, which probably was guaranteed if New York hadn't beaten the Colts last week. And also, he's going to be the biggest show in town. Like, there's no Knicks or
And I think he knows
Yankees
that.
or Mets to overshadow Shedeur Sanders here. If Shedeur comes to Nashville, I mean, we know it. We're already talking about him. We're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders 24/7 on these airwaves because he will be the biggest story in town at all times. I think Dion might want that for his son. I don't know. It's going to be, and we have a texter on a text line saying, didn't John Elway and Bo Jackson both kind of dictate where they went in the NFL draft? Yeah, but they had baseball, right?
Yeah.
John Elway also threatened to go play baseball.
Yeah.
I know Bo Jackson did.
I want to bring up a proposition. So there's this thing called the Dion tax. And what that means is, let's take the Heisman Trophy, for example. And Travis Hunter won it. A lot of people were up in arms about Ashton Genty not winning. And in any other year, if Ashton Genty wasn't in the same class as Travis Hunter, he probably would have won. And I understand, I believe both of them deserved it. But Travis Hunter has done something that we have never, ever seen before. A lot of people didn't like that because of who his coach is, Deion Sanders. Nashville is wanting to get, for lack of a better term, more put on the map. They're doing that by trying to bring an FCS championship to Nashville. I believe that's 2026, if I'm not mistaken.
Sandy's going to host it.
Having Shedeur Sanders here would put Nashville on the map. And I'm a college football junkie. I've watched all these guys. I'm not in love with a lot of the prospects. The only prospects I like are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I think Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in the class. What really impressed me was when he played in the Alamo Bowl, he played that whole game and he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And he was getting just lit up the entire game. The
I think
offensive
Prime
line
made them.
Yeah, the offensive line wasn't
insurance policy
right.
that apparently was the biggest in college football.
And he was still coaching those guys up until the very last second of the game, even though they had no shot in winning by, mid fourth quarter. So that was really impressive to me. And I think this would be a great move for the Titans if Dion lets him come here.
Right. And we talked about it during the break for a second. No matter who is making this pick, and there's been a lot of chatter on the station over the past few weeks about how involved Amy Adams Strunk is with the football decision-making. If the Titans are picking first overall, it's going to be Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Because
it has to be.
She's got to sell those PSLs, and you're bringing a guy who can be that spark for this franchise and giving him 2 years to prove he's the guy. And guess what? If he's terrible for 2 years, then you'll have one more shot at it the year the stadium opens to maybe pick another one. But you give Shedeur Sanders, if you pick him and his first year is good and the Titans maybe improve to being a middle-of-the-pack team, and you head into 2026, the last year in the stadium, with an exciting new quarterback, you're going to get butts and seats. And I think that is a big part of why, if the Titans are picking first or second and Shedeur Sanders is there, he's coming to Nashville. Yeah. As long as Deion Sanders says it's okay.
Yeah. You don't think Travis Hunter would put butts in seats?
I don't see the need for Travis Hunter. Like, cornerback is your strongest position.
Yeah, but you need a receiver.
He's not going to play receiver.
Honestly, I mean, the Titans are more than Yeah, Shadur Sanders or Travis Hunter away from being good.
Right. I think trading back is probably the most fruitful decision you could have for your franchise. You're already out a third round pick this year. If you trade back, you could restock your draft capital. But sometimes that's just not how teams operate. When you have a chance to pick a quarterback, you got to do it. And again, I think Amy has her eye on the stadium opening. You got to have something to excite the fan base. And right now, there was not really anybody.
Connor, what's the one thing right now that is upsetting me most about this whole entire scenario? You
Titan.
got this. Titans are going to tighten, but what is the one thing that ruins everything?
They have no young prospects.
No, what's the one thing that ruins everything? Everything.
Money.
Bingo. That's what's ruining this whole situation.
Yeah.
Amy has the dollar signs in her eyeballs, and it's ruining the future of this franchise. I think, obviously, you said it's the fruitful way of just trading back. Oh my goodness, it's making me upset thinking about it. If you draft Shadur Sanders, I really do think it's going to put butts in seats, but not for long.
One day when I run for college football office, I want Nick Frazier as my advisor.
Yeah.
Because he's 100% right.
It's
all about
it's
the
all
money.
about the money.
All about the money.
But it's how it goes. And when you're opening new stadium, I mean, you look at this Titans team. We did the exercise a few weeks ago when we were filling in for Jared of who are the core players for this team who are going to be part of this franchise moving forward. And we really only named 2 that we felt good about playing in the new stadium. Big Jeff, who honestly might be iffy, and JC Latham, who hasn't had a very good second half of the year. Like, there is nobody who is making fans want to go watch this team on Sundays.
Yeah.
If the Titans were to go 7-10 rookie year of Shadur Sanders next season, would that entice you to go watch them in a new stadium?
Yes.
Really?
If
7 and
Shadur
10.
Sanders gets 4 more wins in his rookie year and you're kind of middle of the pack heading into 2026, that might be the most excitement the Titans have had around them in a long time.
You see what happened with the Bears when they drafted Caleb Williams.
Right.
They got hard knocks right away.
Exactly. I think if
I don't want hard knocks.
Well,
here.
yeah, I think it's a jinx.
if Shadur comes here, you can almost guarantee Hard Knocks is coming to Nashville next year. But it's a tricky situation because again, there's the Dion of it all that we just talked about, and yes, trading back probably is the best decision for the franchise. But if you have a chance to pick a quarterback who you think can be a game changer, you have to do it. And who knows? It's all going to be up to what the Titans do on Sunday. It would be the most Titans thing ever to beat the Texans and fall back to 6. And then all of these scenarios go out the window. Gunner on our text line. Always love when Gunner texts in.
My buddy.
He says it won't be Nashville handling Dion. It'll be about primetime handling Stillman. God, can you imagine
God.
the Twitter wars between Jared and Deion Sanders? Because it will happen.
Oh, yeah.
I can guarantee that if Shadur comes here and has a couple of bad games and Jared comes on the radio station and goes, I'm out on Shadur. He's terrible. He sucks. Dion will be all over Twitter going after Jared, and it will be hilarious.
I want Shadur now.
I want him just for that.
That's the selling point.
Specifically for that.
I think that's going to be.
I still don't want it. I can't do it.
I mean, if the Titans, if things work out and the Titans have the number 1 pick after Sunday, the next 4 months of Jared's show are going to be must listen radio. I know we'll have some fun with it, but Jared going through the Shadur scenarios is going to be awesome. I can't wait.
I got a sick feeling that New England is going to win this weekend.
Me too. I think they will.
Because they're playing Drake May the full game.
Right.
And the Titans, and Brian Callahan mentioned in his press conference, we're going to give both quarterbacks a chance at it.
I think the Titans are kind of just going out there and seeing what happens. And I think the Texans are going to play a lot of their players because they've been bad lately. They need a win. They need some momentum heading into the playoffs. The Bills don't. The Bills have locked in the 2 seed. They feel good. I think there's a chance that things work out and the Titans pick number 1, but it would be the most Titans thing ever to win and give up your chance to pick a franchise quarterback.
Yep.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll keep talking Titans on the other side as we start off hour number 3 of this special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company. If you are anti-Shadur, who do you want in free agency? at quarterback for the Titans. We'll get into that next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Hour number 3, 4's Company here on New Year's Eve. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly with you for the next 90 minutes. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Still talking Titans here into hour number 3. It seems like we've exhausted people with Shedeur Sanders. So let's move on. If you are anti-Shedeur Sanders.
What a waste of airtime, guys.
If you are anti-Shedeur Sanders and don't want him to be the quarterback of the Titans, what is your plan at quarterback? Can we all agree that picking Cam Ward in the top 2 would be a bad idea?
Yep.
100%.
Do not.
Good. I am with you there. So let's say the Titans, they don't like Shedeur Sanders. Picking first or second, they trade out. You don't pick a quarterback this year. Who is the guy in free agency that you think makes the most sense for the Titans to go get to be a bridge guy for when the Titans eventually do draft who they think is the quarterback of the future?
Oh, I like Justin Fields. I really do. I think that would be an investment. I think you would put some money into that. I don't think you would take what Mason Rudolph is making right now. I think
not that little.
Be a little bit more than that. But I like him as a bridge guy. I think he would fit into a system well as a run quarterback. Yeah, you'd have to build up your offensive line to make sure he could take off and run. But I like Justin Fields. I think that would be an interesting investment. If you had to hold me to one quarterback in free agency, I think that's who I'd go with.
Fields scares me for one reason, and I told TD this, and TD didn't agree with me. But I worry about Justin Fields for the fool's gold of what if he comes in here on, let's say, a 1-year, $10 million deal, intended to be a bridge quarterback. But let's say he has a really good season and Titans go 9-8, right on the edge of the playoffs, might get in, might not. He has a good season. Looks like he is starting to finally ascend. Then the Titans have to pay him. That's what I worry about, is that you invest in Justin Fields like he's a franchise quarterback. But even if Justin Fields does get better, he is never going to be in the stratosphere of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. And playing in the AFC, at least for the foreseeable future, if you want to go to the Super Bowl, you need a quarterback like that, because you're going to face those guys in the playoffs every single year. I don't think Justin Fields will ever compete with those guys. And I'm a little bit worried about if you bring in Fields and he shows you a little bit, that you do what you did with Tannehill and you give him a 3 or 4 year deal, and then you're stuck with him for a couple of years. I like the idea of a true bridge quarterback, and that would be, for me, Cousins, Rodgers, Carr.
I do not want Aaron Rodgers.
I don't either.
I don't want Aaron Rodgers for the off the field stuff. I think he would be too distracting. But
I don't want him for the on the field stuff. He's been awful this year.
Even with the bad offensive line, he's not played great this year.
He's been awful.
He's older now.
He had a 1.1 QB rating the other day.
If I'm being 100% honest, for these bridge guys, I don't care what the on-field product is. You are there to fill a gap for a year.
He's got a point. It's slim pickings in the quarterback market this year. You either get a bridge guy like that or you draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, and that's about it.
Here's the thing. Jake Lyman said it best. It's a bridge quarterback that you just don't care what they do out on the field. That's why you go for a low budget stopgap quarterback.
And that's what, if Rand Carthon comes back for another year, he has to improve. So he's got to get a guy that he knows is going to at least give you a chance. So Rodgers maybe wouldn't be the best. I bet it's, if Carthon comes back and he doesn't want to take Shedeur Sanders, I bet it's Derek Carr.
I can see that.
I can
totally see that.
Brian Callahan coached Derek Carr with the Raiders, and I think Derek Carr gives you a chance if you put the right pieces around him to be competitive, which is, again, if Rand Carthon comes back, he's got to win. They got to win at least 8 games for him to keep his job, I would think. Because, like, you can't go 9-25. That'll be his 2-year record, 9-25, and then have another season that is below 500 and keep your job. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So he's got to find somebody competitive. I think Derek Carr fits that mold. But if I'm being honest, if you bring in a bridge quarterback, I really don't care how well he performs. Either he gets you moving in the right direction, you build a winning culture, which is great, or he's terrible and you draft high again and you can take Arch Manning or Drew Aller or whoever you end up like.
Drew Aller.
I don't know. I'm in the camp of a cheaper stopgap quarterback, and obviously Vols fans will go nuts when I say this, but I mentioned it during the break. Honestly, maybe a Josh Dobbs. He's been here before.
Yeah, we saw him last night for a little bit.
It's what 2.2 million is what his market value is for right now for a 1-year deal. I mean, he knows systems really well. Worked for NASA, smart guy. I mean, he can do it all with his feet
can
and his arm.
stop spitting in the faces of Vols fans and bring in a.
This is Tennessee radio, buddy.
Sorry, I mean
There are plenty of. I've seen plenty of Hendon Hooker to the Titans calls on
Can
Twitter.
we stop that?
I've talked about it enough. We don't even need to get into it. I shouldn't have even brought it up. There are two texters with almost identical text messages back to back. Tim and an unnamed texter. If you don't care about the results, then why not go with Levis?
Yeah.
And I agreed with that until the Bengals game. I was fully on board with if you don't think you have a quarterback of the future this offseason that you can go get, why not let Levis start another year? But it's just been so bad. You can't run him out there another year. No one's going to show up to the games.
Well, I think in benching him, you said, yeah, we're done. This isn't working. It's not you, it's us.
When he was
But
hurt,
it is you.
yeah, I mean, 100% it's him. Like, it's definitely that weird relationship.
Well, it was the old breakup cliche
Yeah.
that we've all heard.
Over text,
Over
and
text.
over phone call.
Yeah.
I mean, once he was subbed out in the Miami game, obviously for his AC joint injury.
Yeah.
That's when, and I'll give credit to Derek Mason because he was the one that mentioned this before the week started. Once you make the move to Mason Rudolph, you're done.
Oh, yeah.
You've lost all consistency in that offense. Sure enough, Mason Rudolph goes out there and throws 209 yards that game, something like that.
Yeah,
North
something
of
like
200.
that. Yeah.
So, like, every time he goes on the field, that offense is moving the ball. Nonetheless, there are turnovers involved, but with Will Levis, the man's barely breaking 100. And we're not talking bowling. We're not talking bowling. The man's barely breaking 100 yards throwing the ball.
Well, let me use that same question.
All right.
If you don't care about results, why not trot Mason Rudolph out there?
I'm okay with that.
One of the texters mentioned that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't care about results, but when you have a bridge quarterback in there, you're kind of rolling the dice of just saying like, hey, it might get better, it might not. There's not much you can do at that point. Teams with bridge quarterbacks rarely are good. Like look at the Raiders with Gardner Minshew this year. They did the same thing of, hey, this guy's had some success. Let's bring him in, see what he can do. Aiden O'Connell, we don't really feel great about him being the starter. And the Raiders have been awful. They've won back-to-back games and ruined their chances of getting a quarterback this year. But it's if Will Levis starts again next year, you are basically saying you don't want the fans to come to your games. So you've got to bring in either a veteran or a rookie. If you don't like the rookie, I think it's got to be a veteran bridge guy who you're moving on from after 1 year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's reverse psychology too. Maybe you put Will Levis out there, nobody shows up. That first year in the stadium, you get a really good quarterback. Everybody's there. Maybe that is the tactic they're using. I don't know.
There
Probably
is
not,
almost a 0% chance Will Levis starts for the Titans at all next year. I
There's
would
a
say
low chance he's even on the roster.
Right. I'd say the chances he's on the roster is sub 50% at this point. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We've got plenty of interaction on this. We'll keep talking about this coming up next. Who are some veteran options the Titans could go with if they don't want to take a rookie quarterback? Because you have to improve, or Callahan and Carthon and everybody's going to lose their jobs. But you also, I don't think, can commit long-term to any of these guys in free agency. Continue to chime in again. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Special New Year's Eve edition this morning of 4's Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. 4's Company, 1025, 1063, The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly with you. Just over an hour left in the show. Again, coming up after us, the ReliaQuest Bowl, Alabama and Michigan pregame coverage starts at 10:30. We are diving in on the Titans quarterback situation right now. Last hour, we spent a lot of time on the rookies. And if the Titans end up picking first or second, would they take Shedeur Sanders? We all kind of agreed that if he's there, you kind of have to, right? Like, if you have a guy you think is the franchise quarterback, you have to at least take a shot on it. You only pick in the top two so many times. But let's say the Titans either win on Sunday and move themselves out of that position, or they don't like Sanders, they trade back. You have to get a veteran bridge guy. Who stands out? And we've had a lot of options out there. One that we haven't talked about, and Jared put this on Twitter 2 days ago, when the Titans lost to him, Mac Jones. Thoughts
Yeah.
on Mac Jones as a possible bridge quarterback?
I'm for it. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but like you said, you don't care about results, throw him out there. Plus, he's cheap. Trot him out there. He'll cost you what, $2 million, $3 million? Not that much.
He might be a little more after the recent success he had with Jacksonville, right? I'd say right in the $4 million range.
But you could get him cheap, and he would be a guy that kind of in the Justin Fields way, like he's young enough that you feel like there might still be some growth to be had there. It's not like a Derek Carr where you know what Derek Carr is.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is not going to turn into a new quarterback overnight. And Mac Jones probably won't either, but he's young enough that you could still see some progression from him. I wouldn't hate it. I'm still on the, I think you go older and a proven commodity because, again, whoever is making the picks, Brian Callahan's coaching for his job next year. Like,
Yeah.
you can't go 4-13 next year and get a third season. That just doesn't happen in the NFL anymore. There's not enough patience on coaches and general managers that, hey, you can have 2 really, really bad seasons and come back. So they've got to find somebody who can compete or at least gives you hope. That's why with Shedeur, you get a little more leeway. Even if you go 6-11, as long as he's progressing, I think you're going to get another chance. But if you bring in Mac Jones and you go 4-13, you're getting fired.
Yeah.
So that's the risk that you take if you bring in a guy who's kind of unproven like that, where
Kind of along those lines. How'd you feel about Kenny Pickett?
no.
Yeah. You saw his play the other day and just said no.
I'm just
Will Levis moment of the week.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
His spirit lives on.
I'm not saying I'm for the idea or this idea is going to happen, but there's a connection because Mac Jones' offensive coordinator is Press Taylor, who's Zach Taylor's brother. Brian Callahan came from the Zach Taylor tree. Again, it's just a connection. I'm not saying I'm for the idea or against it or whatever, but I'm kind of with Jake. I am tired of, maybe there's a little something there. You know, these project quarterbacks, I want somebody who's experienced and more established.
Right. And again, I worry about the fool's gold with some of these young quarterbacks. If they have a Sam Darnold type year, I think the Vikings, as good as they've been this season, and Sam Darnold has been awesome. It's been great watching him play. I think if the Vikings sign Sam Darnold to a long year, it's going to set. Murphy's the guy, but I think it's fool's gold with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I don't think that he can win you a Super Bowl.
No.
Even in the NFC, you've got a better chance, but I just think in the playoffs coming up, whether they're the 1 seed or the 5 seed, facing a team like the Eagles, I can't see Sam Darnold just carrying his team to victory. And especially if he got to the Super Bowl, which would be, I mean, that's what you hope for, but
yeah.
He's not going to outduel Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want the Titans to run into that where you sign a guy and you think, oh, wow, man, he looked really good. Let's commit to him.
Yeah.
Then you're setting your franchise back 3 years.
What are the chances that the Colts sign Joe Flacco back to another 1-year deal.
I don't know, but that would be another good option.
because I'm okay with that. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't think he'll be asking for $4.5 million.
No, he's a guy who kind of just wants to keep playing, I think.
Yeah, I think if there's a team out there that would, entertain his company, then sure. And I think that'd be a place the Titans might look at. It would be Joe Flacco. I mean, you'd be crazy not to, right?
Yeah, and the good news with all of this is free agency comes before the draft. So we're going to get the hand is going to be shown before the draft wherever the Titans pick. If the Titans really don't make a move at quarterback, you can kind of see, all right, they're going to go
Perfect
Shedeur or
timing.
Cam Ward. But let's say they do go sign Derek Carr. That could be a sign that they want to move back. But it's also tough for the Titans because you kind of lose your leverage at that point, right? Like, you can't use the threat of, oh, well, we might just take the quarterback anyway if you go sign Derek Carr to a $10 million deal. Maybe you can, but it's an interesting balance that the Titans are going to have to work through once the offseason rolls around.
They're going to have a really good poker hand. I mean, we're talking pocket aces. We're talking just I'm not going to use the term they use in poker, but they got to have pocket aces to really fool somebody. And
well, getting the number one pick is how you get pocket aces.
well, no, I'm talking about if you were to sign a bridge quarterback in comparison to
Gotcha.
the whole draft situation. You got to play your cards right. And I mean, has to be perfect.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll keep this conversation rolling when we come back. What else can the Titans do in the offseason to set themselves up for a better year in 2025? Because they need it. Again, as much as you want to say, the team should tank and go get Arch Manning or whoever it is, this coaching staff, the front office, they're playing for their jobs, and the Titans have to show progress in 2025. How do they do that? We'll keep talking about that coming up next. Special New Year's Eve edition, 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. A reminder that the Game Nashville Sports Network is your home for college football bowl games and the college football playoffs presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Today, 102.5 and 106.3, the game will start off with the ReliaQuest Bowl, Alabama taking on Michigan. Coverage starting right after us at 10:30, followed by South Carolina versus Illinois in the Citrus Bowl. And later on tonight on 94.9 The Fan, catch the college football playoff quarterfinal as Penn State and Boise State square off at 6:30. For a full list of all the college football games carried on the Game Nashville Sports Network, visit thegamenashville.com/bowl games. 4's company here on this New Year's Eve with you till 10:30. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, and Parker Kelly. We're still talking Titans as they head into their Week 18 matchup against the Texans. And we've talked about it. The Titans are in a position with the way things have gone. The Raiders have won a couple of games. The Giants beat the Colts this week. The Titans losing to the Jaguars. All of a sudden, Tennessee, with a loss on Sunday, guarantees that they will pick in the top two. And it just came out. Sean McDermott, in his weekly press conference for the Bills, confirming that Josh Allen will play very, very, very limited snaps on Sunday. I think the expectation is because he wants to continue his long start streak, is that it's maybe a series. Wouldn't shock me if it's just a play. And then we see Mitch Trubisky. So with the Texans kind of reeling a little bit, maybe wanting some momentum, D'Amico Ryans has already confirmed that everybody's going to play. I wonder if there's an outside shot that the Titans end up with the number one overall pick. And all of the talk we've done the last couple of segments would be for naught, because if you're number one, you're probably going quarterback. But if you don't like the quarterback, we've gone through some options as bridge guys for the Titans. What else can you do for this Titans team to put yourself in a position to get back to being competitive next year? Because quarterback isn't the only hole on this team. There are plenty of other spots the Titans need to upgrade.
I may have an idea. I mentioned to you before the break the show, excuse me. It's already been that long, but you trade out of that number 2, number 1 overall spot. You acquire a lot of picks. What about Dylan Gabriel? I listened to you.
We just had a texter.
I listened to you and TD about a month ago, and I'm just thinking in my head that the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I'm convincing myself. But I went back and watched this tape from UCF, Oklahoma, and now Oregon. His release is super quick. He's precise on a lot of his stuff. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the draft, but for the situation the Titans are in, I think that's probably your best, not gamble, but your best option in the later rounds, because you're able to still acquire maybe another tackle. And like, obviously we talked about this earlier too, but like, say JC Latham, they move him back to right tackle and you go grab another left tackle in the draft or something like that. Then you've kind of filled out majority of your offensive line. You just got to fill out that right guard spot. And then from there, you fill in all the other holes you have. If it's an edge rusher, or if it's maybe another linebacker or something, like you're able to fill those voids at a more relaxed pace.
I just don't see it on Dylan Gabriel. Really? There are guys that are perennial college quarterbacks, great college quarterbacks, and that don't translate to the NFL because they're just college quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel is that to me. There's nothing about his game that makes me go, that's an NFL player.
Yeah. Somebody's going to take a chance on him, though.
Yeah, he's like a Joe Milton to me. Like someone,
but kind of like the opposite.
Yeah, it doesn't
of
have
Joe,
the arm strength,
but like
short.
better.
With, I agree with what you're saying. He's a guy that
he's a college quarterback,
right?
He's a guy that'll win you games in college, and someone will probably take a flyer on him when they see him in the
round
in the combine. But he's not a starter. I don't think he's an NFL caliber quarterback.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of, maybe I'm just doing this because he's short, but a little bit of Russell Wilson to him.
Yeah,
but I do think that if you're picking a quarterback in this draft, it's got to be your first pick. You've already tried let's take a late flyer on a quarterback. You did it with Malik Willis. You did it with Will Levis. Not that 33rd overall is late, but trying to take a mid-round flyer on a quarterback who slipped down the board. We've tried that. It hasn't worked out for the Titans.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to commit to a young guy as your quarterback of the future, you got to do it early.
Dylan Gabriel's game doesn't really translate to the NFL level just because his strength is his accuracy, but he lacks in size, arm strength, and he's not as mobile. He's mobile, but he's not as mobile as some of these other guys.
He's not Kyler Murray, who can get away with being 5'10".
He is a college quarterback.
There'll be no Kyler Murray slander ever.
Oh, but you could slander the balls.
Yeah.
No Kyler Murray slander. By golly.
Go, fight, go. Are you kidding me? Come on now. This is Tennessee radio.
Tennessee radio.
Tennessee radio.
We're on here trashing the balls on Tennessee radio.
No.
I saw a tweet about Kyler Murray the other day that made me giggle. It was like, how come they just stick Kyler Murray to be the worst quarterback in the NFL in the 4:00 spot every week and no one talks about it?
He was great before Black
Call
Ops 6
before
came
Call
out.
of Duty came out. He's slipped back to earth since then. I think I'm out on Gabriel.
Really?
This quarterback class, if you believe in Sanders and Ward, then I think those guys are first-round picks. There's not really anybody else I would even consider until...
Not even DJ Uiagalelei?
You pronounce that so.
Thank you.
Uiagalelei. Yeah, I think he could be a 6th or 7th round pick.
He declared. Someone's going to take a chance on him, I'm telling you.
Jackson Dart.
The thing I can't...
like a 6th round pick right there.
I can't wrap my head around this. Like, if this is me, obviously, if you're wrapping your head around, well, if you're going to get rid of the 1st overall pick or 2nd overall pick and trade back for picks, you've already come to the realization of you're not going to get a quarterback, obviously, at the earlier rounds. You can fix majority of your stuff during the draft, like fix all your holes you have. Whereas you could just pick a flyer on a quarterback. I'm okay with that because you look at the product you mentioned earlier, whatever the product on the field is, it's not going to change anything, in my opinion.
I'm not okay with taking a flyer.
I am. What is this?
We've done that.
What does this franchise have to play for the next 3 years? Absolutely nothing.
But what could help your team more in the 5th round? Dylan Gabriel or a depth guy at edge or wide receiver? Like, those guys are going to play more, whether it's on special teams. If you take a quarterback in the 5th round, he's probably going to be a healthy scratch every single game.
Yep. That's your emergency third every week.
I'm just not on the Shedeur Sanders train. I'm going to be straight up with you.
I get it, Nick. And as much as I think trading back, as we saw in 2016, trading back out of the number 1 pick can be one of the fastest ways to get your team turned around. How many times do you see a team that has the number 1 overall pick and needs a quarterback trade out of it? It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't. But like the thing is if your head coach Brian Callahan was looked at as a quarterback guru coming into hiring with the Titans, and you have Will Levis along for the ride, like of course you're going to be hyping up the Will Levis train, exactly. But if you're supposedly a quarterback guru, take any quarterback, turn him into touchdown Jesus up there at Notre Dame, turn him into anything.
Will Levis isn't one of those quarterbacks though that a quarterback guru can turn around.
Yeah,
because he's not a game manager. Like, he's not Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
He is the opposite of a game manager. Will Levis is going to make the throw that only 5 people in the world can make, but then he is going to make the absolute worst decision you've ever seen in your life. That's the opposite of what Shanahan and McVay and all these guys need for their offense. As much as I'm not in love with the idea of Shedeur Sanders being the franchise quarterback, if you have the number 1 or number 2 overall pick, like, it just doesn't happen that quarterback needy teams trade away that pick, because quarterback needy teams are trying to come up for that pick. It just doesn't happen. I understand that the Titans don't have a ton of draft capital, and picking up an extra 1st and an extra 2nd and moving back 8 spots would be great for this franchise. Yeah. It just doesn't happen.
I get it. I understand. I mean, Amy's probably listening thinking, yeah, my money's running a little dry. I got to bring in Shedeur.
Amy doesn't have local radio out there.
She has Houston local radio.
I forgot.
She's listening to the Texans radio.
I just hate that money is ruining just things in general, especially with football. I don't know. That's just me. Just this Titans team, they have nothing to play for. It's a bottom feeding team on the bottom of the barrel. I just can't. It's hard to watch. I'm stuttering my words. They make me sad. They really do. This franchise makes me so sad.
It's made me sad the last couple of weeks since I heard that the Titans have not won back-to-back games since the 2nd week I moved to Nashville. I've been here for over 2 years now. The last time the Titans won back-to-back games was a 5-day span. They beat the Broncos at home. They beat the Packers on Thursday Night Football, and have not won consecutive
party.
games. I was considering making a joke there.
Playing
Um,
party.
It's a Todd Downing game.
Yeah.
It's the one that will go down in
Titans went to
Titans
7-3,
history.
and honestly, they should have been 8-2 because Travis Kelce ripped off Josh Kalu's helmet on that 2-point conversion, and Kalu got called for holding. Should have been 8-2 and ended up finishing the season 7-10. And it's been all downhill from there. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We're talking Titans. The big story this week, they have maneuvered their way into the number 2 pick heading into week 18, a chance to get to the number 1 selection with a loss and a Patriots win against the Bills in the final week of the season. We'll wrap up hour number 3 coming up next. Then we'll get back into some college football, as it is a huge day of college football. We've got our first college football quarterfinal and 3 more tomorrow. We will wrap up the show with that as we're with you till 10:30. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Wrapping up hour number 3 of this special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly with you. It's been a fun show. We spent most of the show on the Titans, which this week, this is the first time in a long time the Titans have had an opportunity to be at the very top of the NFL draft. Rumors about Shadur Sanders. We talked about trading back. The last thing I want to get into before we move on is a texter, Carson, on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, mentions, give me McMillan as our first pick in the draft. He doesn't want the mediocre quarterbacks. He's willing to wait another year and wait until we get a good veteran via trade or something else. We haven't talked about the idea that the Titans could take, we did mention Travis Hunter. I will say right now, and I'll make a Jared Stillman guarantee that if the Titans are picking in the top 2, they will either pick a quarterback or they will trade out.
Yeah.
Because
You didn't do the horn that he does.
oh yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Nick's is better than mine. You cannot waste not that Ted McMillan, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson,
Luther Burden.
all these guys are really good prospects. And if you took them at 8 or 9, I think it would be great. But if you have a top 2 pick, you cannot, you got to either get a king's ransom for it or you got to take a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, I'm not sold that McMillan is top 2 pick talent.
Yeah. Like think of the last time a wide receiver went in the top 2.
I mean,
I can't even.
top 3 is Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
I mean,
He went 4th too.
oh yeah.
Talking about his dad or
No,
Junior?
Junior.
Let's
Obviously,
see.
Corey Davis comes to mind being top 5, obviously, but none that I can recall being a top 2 pick.
I'm looking. Highest drafted receivers. I know Sammy Watkins went early. But even like
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase went 5th. I don't think there's really, I mean, I'm sure there has been wide receivers who have been taken in the top 2, but it's very rare because you use those picks for premium positions, which is quarterback, edge rusher, tackle. That's pretty much it. There isn't a tackle who's worth it. Abdul Carter is a really good player. I don't think he's worth a top 2 pick, which means you either got to trade it or you got to go quarterback. Amari Cooper was a 4th overall pick. Sammy Watkins was 4th overall, but there's really no one. Justin Blackman, 5th overall.
Wonder what happened to him.
Yeah, that one busted. Donnie no, that's a 2nd round pick. No. Yes, Donnie Avery, I believe. Wait, never mind. I read that wrong. He was the first pick of the 2nd round. Correct. Calvin Johnson was the last time
There you go.
a wide receiver went in the top 2. He went 2nd overall to the Lions after Jamarcus Russell. Raiders didn't take
quarterback.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah. Quarterback.
That's all I'm saying is you cannot take.
I think you have more holes to fill on this team desperately than wide receiver.
Right. Is Ted McMillan going to turn your team, give your team 4 more wins? No. Is he going to drastically change the trajectory of this franchise? No. Shadur Sanders might.
He may not.
He might not.
But
Or he could drastically change it in the wrong direction, which would be hard. There's not much room to go down. But
0-17.
yeah,
Oh, if
no
that
one's
were to
ever done it.
happen, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Could he be the one to do it? I would love to
Record
see that.
breaker.
He would be a
Way to
record
go,
breaker.
Dion.
How about it?
You gave us a record breaker.
Yeah.
Before
He gave us a record
before we wrap up here on the Titans, the reaction next Monday from Jared Stillman if the Titans beat the Texans.
Oh God.
I am just like
the meltdown.
that is what has been going through my head of, like, we kind of mentioned it a few times of, oh, the Titans are going to tighten. They're going to win the game on Sunday, kind of jokingly. But if they do, Jared might open the show just at a full scream.
Robbie and I talked about this last night. That's right. I just acknowledged Robbie Stanley. So there you go. We talked about this last night. We've come to the terms that it doesn't matter who the Tennessee Titans pick in the draft. On that draft show, you are going to hear, no, no matter who it is. Doesn't matter.
I don't know if the Titans are picking in the top 2, I think you're going to have a decent idea of who they're going to pick going into it. It's not like picking 7th where Joe Alt could get stolen 2 picks in front of you and Neighbors could go the pick in front of you. Like it's not picking in the top 2. You typically have a pretty decent idea heading into the draft who you're going to pick. So I don't know if there's going to be a big Jared throwing his head to the desk moment this year on the draft show.
It's possible.
I think it's going to happen.
How hilarious would it be, though, if there could be, I guess, if the Titans pick first and Jared's talked himself into Shadur all week long, and then they draft
back.
Cam Ward.
Or they trade back.
Man.
I'll be a happy man if they do that. Trade back, baby. Just keep trading back.
I just...
With the first overall pick, the Tennessee Titans select Dylan Gabriel.
Oh, please no.
Nick Frazier would just...
I'd be happy, but no. Like, you can't go pick a guy like that number 1 overall.
No.
You're just wasting a number 1 overall pick. You just wasted a year of being terrible for a player that you don't even know.
Results don't matter, gentlemen.
With the first overall pick, the Tennessee Titans select Vontae Mack, linebacker, Ohio State.
Over Bo Callahan?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
No one came to his birthday party.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. I'd get a guy birthday.
Brock Vandegrift.
No,
he
he's
is
retired. He retired.
Cutter Bully.
No, the greatest quarterback ever.
That's right.
I did see on Twitter a couple days ago, people were saying that the Texans might go all out for this win because the Titans are wearing the Oilers jerseys.
Please do.
PK had the great tweet of,
Oh, no. There's one PK.
sorry, Paul Kaharski.
That's Kaharski.
Paul
not PK.
Kaharski said that he was like, the Texans will or will not try and win this game on Sunday. The uniforms that the Titans are wearing will have absolutely nothing to do with it, which I think is really true. I think the Titans are going to lose on Sunday. I mean, the fact that Brian Callahan has already come out and said he's going to get some younger guys some reps and he's going to play both quarterbacks. It doesn't seem like he's all that intrigued on going all out for this one.
He doesn't seem all that intrigued in his 2 quarterbacks either.
Right. Like he's going to try and win the game. There's no tanking that's going on here. He's going to do everything he can on Sunday to try and win the game. But the personnel that's going to be going in, I don't think is going to be that of a team playing for its life. So we'll see. Again, if the Titans do win on Sunday, I think Jared might blow a gasket on a Titans Monday, but we'll have to see.
I'll just say this. If the Titans lose by 17 or more points, I will make you guys breakfast and bring it in on Saturday. Or the following
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the fun of it.
Blackstone pancakes.
Yeah.
Make it
I can do
happen.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breakfast burritos.
We'll be back on the air this Saturday. So
Yes.
we'll find other things to talk about other than Shadur for our usual show. But the Saturday after that, I guess we'll have plenty to talk about
And a
leading
breakfast.
into the college football playoff semifinals. Actually, those might have already happened at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
We'll
get to recap it.
Those are, I think, take place midweek, like on a Wednesday or Thursday, I believe.
The Coach New Oregon Duck victory celebration.
Oh.
It's going to happen.
Oh,
Okay.
It'll happen. I'll wear the hat.
quickly before we move on, because we're not going to talk Titans on the other side. We're going to get back to college football as we get into our final half hour of the show. But Nevada Josh on our text line says, what if the Titans had the number 1 overall pick and the Raiders wanted to trade up and gave them Brock Bowers? I like the idea, but it would take more than Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
You'd have to probably trade Bowers, your first round pick, and a second or third, I think would get that done.
I mean, you go back to April. We started this show. My very first rant. Who was ringing the bell for Brock Bowers? Me.
All of us were, I think.
Me.
You said it the most, but
It was me.
I wanted Brock Bowers as much as the next guy. Because I thought he was the only blue chip prospect left on the board at 7. I like JC Latham. I think he'll be a pretty good left tackle, but Brock Bowers might be a Hall of Famer at tight end. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We are going to move on from the Titans. 30 minutes left in the show. We're leading you into the ReliaQuest Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. When we come back, we're going to get back into the college football quarterfinals. Penn State and Boise State tonight. Broncos and Nittany Lions. Who's moving on to the semis? That's up next. You're on this special New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. 4's Company on this New Year's Eve here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. 30 more minutes with us, and then we're going to hand you off to ESPN Radio's coverage of the ReliaQuest Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Spent most of the show on the Titans today, as they are currently in line to have the number 2 overall pick, and that could change with a win on Sunday against the Texans, could get better with a loss and a Patriots win. We'll have to see how that all sorts itself out. We're going to move on because we have real football to talk about tonight. Penn State, Boise State. We hit on it a little bit earlier on in the show. But guys, first quarterfinal game of the 12-team college football playoff era. And this one is interesting. Penn State, I think we'd all agree, is the better team. Boise State, coming from the Mountain West, really haven't played a difficult schedule, although they were in it with Oregon in Autzen early in the season. But the X factor is Ashton Jeanty. You've got the best running back in the country, and if Boise's going to win this game, they need him to take over multiple game-changing plays if they're going to knock off the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, it all comes down to him, doesn't it? It's Jeanty or bust, to be honest with you. I don't know. I said this earlier in the show. I don't see this one being close. I feel like Penn State's going to grab the momentum early and run away with it. I don't know. I just feel like Penn State has such an easy path to the semifinals. It's not even funny. And that's more of a seeding thing, but I just feel like Penn State's the better team on paper. I feel like they run away with this one pretty handedly.
I mean, I don't think they go pretty handedly. I think it's going to be pretty tight in regards to this game. I think it's going to be kind of what Connor was saying about the Georgia Notre Dame game, one in the trenches. I think it's kind of be the same thing for Penn State, Boise State. Obviously, you're going to use Warren, the tight end / H-back fullback for Penn State in most regards of their offense. But as for Boise State, the run game is obviously what they've been kind of piggybacking on all year with Ashton Jeanty. I think this Penn State defense is going to be, going to have probably their toughest test of the year when it comes to run game stuff. I mean, I think I'm reading here on ESPN's website that they're top 10 nationally in this defensive category of 4th against the run, 100.4 yards allowed per game. I mean, Ashton Jeanty is a guy that's putting north of 100 every game. So that's something you got to watch out for.
Yeah, Penn State, it is interesting just looking at the way the draw came out. We talked about this with Oregon getting such a tough draw, probably having to go through Ohio State and Texas to get to the national championship game. Penn State probably facing the 2 least talented teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
SMU, Boise State.
You could throw Arizona State.
Like Arizona,
there,
but I think Arizona State, they've been a power conference team for a long time. SMU, this is their first year in the ACC, Boise State in the Mountain West. I think in terms of just talent, SMU and Boise State are probably the 2 worst teams in the playoffs. Not saying that Boise State couldn't win this game, but that's just kind of the way it goes. It's terrible the way this is sorted out. And we talked about this in the first hour, but the fact that Oregon beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship and Penn State gets a better road to the national championship than Oregon does. I get it. Penn State has to play an extra game, but it's ridiculous that that's the way this format has it worked out.
Connor and I talked about this last week when you were filling in for Jared, but this 12-team playoff killed any hope of having a Cinderella. 2 years ago when TCU was in the national championship versus Georgia, and then Cincinnati when they played Alabama, is it 2018, 2019? That was the best shot of a Cinderella that we're getting. And now Cinderella means that you go all the way. Boise State may win this game tonight. I don't think it will happen, but they could. But then they'd have to play the winner of Georgia, Notre Dame. They'd have to go on to either play Ohio State, Texas, or Oregon. It's just not going to happen.
Can you really call them a Cinderella too? I mean, they're the 3 seed with a bye.
Yeah.
But in what world should they have had that in the first place?
Right.
No, it would be a Cinderella run if Boise State won 2 games to get to the national championship. Despite being the 3 seed, they are the 10th, 11th, 12th best team in in this 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
So I think Penn State's going to win this game, and we're going to make our picks coming up in our final segment coming up next. But I think Boise State has a chance purely because they have a legit game-breaking player on offense. And James Franklin, yeah, you beat SMU at home in the first one. I don't think that that gives James Franklin a pass on all of the can't do it when the lights come on allegations. So I don't know. This is one where James Franklin, you're playing in the Fiesta Bowl, a chance to get into the Final Four, which for James Franklin, that's been the issue, is he's always been kind of on the outside looking in these 4-team playoffs. He's got himself a perfect path to get to the Final Four. Can he do it? We're going to have to see.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, but we're going to make our picks coming up in the next segment.
What a tease. That was good. That was really good. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards the same way Jake Lyman is about Penn State. James Franklin obviously has that knack for, like you said, not one of the big game, but there's something about this Boise State offense, not just Ashton Genty, but if they are able to manipulate the run game to where they can open up a play action, that's going to be the downfall of Penn State tonight, if that is the case.
That's the thing, though. If Genty is out or off, I'm going to tell you this, if he rushes for under 100 yards tonight, there is no chance in hell they win this game.
Yeah. He's got to go for 152 touchdowns if they want a chance in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And if they even with that, I think Boise State would need at least 2 other wow plays to win this game, whether that's a big turnover or a play in the passing game. They need Genty to be his usual self, and they probably need a little bit more to win this game.
100%.
Could it happen?
100%.
Yes. It remains to be seen whether it will.
Yeah.
So should be a fun one tonight. We're going to make all our picks again for the college football quarterfinals. I know you guys did it on
That's
Saturday,
okay.
but I wasn't there. I'd like to give my picks. Parker wasn't there either.
Yeah,
So,
Parker wasn't there.
yeah. So 2 of us will make new picks. You guys can say yours again. You
Well,
can
we
change
gotta-
them at this point.
I'm leaning. Yeah, it's just tough. I don't know.
Are you going to make some changes?
I might.
Okay.
I actually might.
Awesome.
The most electric duo in sports talk radio has to celebrate the green team,
That's right.
right?
That is right.
Yeah,
That's right.
we have to.
Okay.
That's a good tease right there.
It is a good tease.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Coming up next, final segment here on this New Year's Eve edition of 4's Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Final segment of 4's Company in 2024. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, and Parker Kelly with you. We're leading you right up to coverage of the Relia Quest Bowl, Alabama and Michigan. ESPN Radio's coverage starts right after us at 10:30, so no need to change the dial. After that, South Carolina, Illinois, and then the Preds taking on the Wild. Pregame coverage at 6 right here on the game. Going to make our picks here for the college football quarterfinals. I know you guys made them on Saturday. We're going to do them again. Let's start with Penn State and Boise State, the game we were just talking about. Broncos and Nittany Lions. Winner moves on to the semifinals. We get the winner of Notre Dame and Georgia. Connor Newt, lead us off.
I'm sorry, I spaced out. What was the game?
Penn State, Boise State.
Oh, okay.
The game tonight.
The game tonight. Okay. I think Penn State runs away pretty wildly against Boise State. I just don't think Boise State matches up well against Penn State. I think Penn State has the easy path to the semifinals, and I think it starts tonight. And I think they hold Ashton Genty under 100.
Last weekend I said they were going to cover the spread, Boise State. I'm kind of leaning that way again. I am going to stick to my guns. Penn State wins by 6 points. And Ashton Genty does have a game over 100 yards, say 140.
Well, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to go Penn State. I'm going to be rooting for Boise State tonight, and I think most people will be, but I do think Penn State gets it done and moves on. Parker Kelly, are you making it a clean sweep?
I'm making it a clean sweep, and here's a little padlock stat for you. So Ashton Genty is going to be the clear and obvious X factor here, but Ashton Genty could go off for 200 yards and it not be enough.
Yeah.
Example, he rushed for 192 yards versus Oregon, and they still lost. So they're going to need that defensive front to step up. That front seven's really good, especially when they blitz. That secondary is a bit of a question mark, so they're going to need to step up as well. But I'm going Penn State.
All righty. We are 4 across on the Nittany Lions as we will get game 1 tonight. Heading into tomorrow, 3 games on New Year's Day, and it starts at, is it an 11 a.m.? Yeah, 12 o'clock Central Time. Texas and Arizona State, 4-5 matchup. Nick Frazier, where are you going with this one?
Man, I think Arizona State. No, I'm just kidding. Texas will win the whole way. This is going to be a blowout. I think Texas might actually put up 40 points and see Arch Manning get a rushing touchdown while he's at it. So, yeah.
Connor?
Yeah, hook 'em. I'm with Nick Frazier. I think this one's going to be a blowout too. I think Quinn Ewers, I think I said 3 passing touchdowns. Yeah, I think that happens. I could see an Arch Manning rushing touchdown too. I don't think this one's going to be close at all.
Here's my upset pick.
Don't do it.
Forks up.
Oh, no.
Forks up. I'm going with Arizona State.
Pat Tillman is smiling upon you.
I don't know if Ashton Genty is enough to carry Boise State to the win, but I think Cam Scattaboo getting a week or 2 off with that bye, I think he is going to carry Arizona State to a win and beat Texas.
Really? In the year 2024?
Yep.
The year of our Lord.
Uh-huh.
On Tennessee radio.
I mean,
on Tennessee radio, yeah.
On Tennessee radio.
My jaw has dropped. I did not expect Jake Lyman.
I'm picking. I mean, I don't want to give away my picks, but I'm going one big upset, and I think Arizona State pulls it off. I think we're getting into the quarterfinals where I think you could see one upset. We saw none of them in the first round. I don't think it's going to go chalk, and I'm going to go with Arizona State to beat Texas.
The Sun Devils.
Not so fast, Jake Lyman.
Woo! Golly.
This is the best defense in college football. And this is just going to be exactly what we saw in Ohio State, Tennessee. Texas's caliber of roster and coaching staff are just far better than Arizona State. I have immense amount of respect for Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. This is a game that Arizona State will not win. Give me the Longhorns. Hook 'em.
I'll lone wolf it. I was I didn't get a chance to do a victory lap. My one time I called in from Memorial and did the picks with you a couple weeks ago.
4-4?
I did go perfect on that one. I had the Bills to beat the Chiefs. No. The Lions. The Bills to beat the Lions.
Yeah.
I had Navy beating Army, and then the Bengals to beat the Titans.
Major
So,
change in the standings.
I went, yeah, I know.
Someone tell Jake Wallman the standings have moved.
Yeah, the standings have been updated. Let's move on. Ohio State and Oregon. This one, the marquee matchup, 4:00 kick tomorrow from the Rose Bowl. Do the Ducks get it done, or do the Buckeyes move on to the semifinals?
It's crazy to look at the line for this game because Ohio State is favored by 2.5, and Oregon's the underdog, and they're the number 1 overall seed. I'm taking Oregon. They're probably best on paper and best on the field.
Yeah, Ohio State 2.5-point favorite. Connor, do
You guys
the
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go Buckeyes.
Okay. Coach Lyman.
Yeah, I gotta stand for my Buckeye brethren because
Are you proud to be from Ohio?
I couldn't beat the Ducks. Hopefully Ryan Day can. I'll go with Ohio State to move on, which would give us an Arizona State Ohio State semifinal.
Oh God. Ugh.
Do you want to go, or do you want Parker to go
Let him
first?
go.
Okay, Parker, go first.
Connor, should we play the music? Should we play the fight song?
You read my mind.
I don't have it pulled up, but if you want to go real
Don't
quick,
worry,
I'll
I
get it
do.
pulled up.
Why do you think I wanted to go last?
I figured. You
So
guys are-
here's the thing. This game is currently at, I believe it was at FanDuel. It's right at a pick'em. Ohio State's favored by 2.5. And there's probably a little recency bias going into this game since we saw Ohio State play last against Tennessee. If they play the way they did against the Vols, Ohio State will win this game. However, games are not played on paper. They are played on the field. Oregon's going to be ready to go. Dan Lanning's going to have his team fired up. Give me Oregon, but it's very close.
I'm with you. I think it's close. I think it's very close. I think it's a field goal game. But I'm taking Oregon as well. This is Coach Newt's team. I'm going to wear the hat tomorrow. The duck hat. Do you know the legend of the duck hat?
I don't.
I got a duck hat for Christmas.
Oh,
Coach Newt. I support the
you
Ducks.
could rep the squad.
And I'm wearing a duck shirt.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Parker's got the duck shirt on.
Save the Ducks.
I guess
Save the Ducks.
I'm lone wolfing it on both of those games. So,
That's all right. I'll probably lone wolf it up next.
all right. Last game of the night tomorrow, 7:45 kick, Notre Dame, Georgia, in the Sugar Bowl. Connor Newt.
Give me the Irish. I think I've said it before. This game's won in the trenches. I have the edge on Notre Dame's backfield. I think Jeremiah Love has a big game. I think he rushes for 2 touchdowns, and I don't think Gunnar Stockton. I almost said Gunnar Henderson. I don't think Gunnar Stockton is enough to get Georgia over the hump. I think the Irish make their way to the semifinals, take on it would
Penn
be
State.
Penn State. Yeah. So we'd have Penn State, Notre Dame, and then Oregon and Texas. It's a good semifinal.
Stetson Bennett, and he will lead this Bulldog offense to victory. And I'm saying it's going to be more of a 27-24 ball game. It's probably where I'm leaning towards it, but I think Georgia wins by a small margin of a field goal.
Play like a champion today. I'm going Irish.
We're splitting.
I'm going Irish.
Oh, yeah.
Parker.
Georgia's never really been a quarterback-centric team under Kirby Smart besides this year. And when they became a quarterback-centric team, this isn't the typical Georgia team that we've seen. While they did win the SEC, Carson Beck has turned the ball over a lot, thrown 12 picks on the season. He will not be available. He is out, and he's also declared for the NFL draft. I'm telling you guys, this team is going to elevate their game because of who's in at quarterback. I think Notre Dame is very capable of winning this game. I believe the Irish are very, very good. They've improved greatly since the NIU loss, but Georgia's going to be too much to handle. Give me the Dogs.
All right, we're split on that one. Those are the picks, and that'll do it for us. Been a fun show, guys. Glad we could hang out for 3.5 hours here on New Year's Eve. Hope you enjoy the rest of your New Year's Eve and have a great start to 2025. We've got college football for the next few hours, starting with the ReliaQuest Bowl. Alabama and Michigan coming up next here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
See ya.